It's our house band, Neil Young. It is Bennington. Bennington, episode 2. Episode 2, for those of you collecting at home. 866. Bop, 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 bop. I got to get a different number on there, or come up with a number, so I'm not saying the name of the other show. 2 weeks ago, we did the first episode of Bennington, and I didn't see my co-host in the last 2 weeks. But with me, as always, Gail Bennington, no relation.
Still?
What are you up to this morning?
You've got to get that test.
Well, I don't want to get a DNA test. It's too odd. It's Halloween today.
Spooky.
Yeah, it is very spooky, and the spookiest part of it, it's morning.
It's really early.
It's incredibly early this morning, but this is what normal people do. This is the times that normal people will get up.
People are out there.
Not as many as you would expect, though. Night people always think that there are people just like wandering around, and this is called drive time, but I don't see a lot of people driving. I get in faster this time of the morning than I do at any other time.
I had a very relaxing train ride. It's
not a lot of people?
It's not a ton of people. Everyone has a seat. Everyone's very civil. Everyone has their coffee.
And then an hour from now...
It's insanity.
Yeah. It's Dave's insanity sauce, basically, is what you're looking at.
Full-blown panic attack, pulling your coat off, waiting for the train.
It's the worst, isn't it?
It's the worst time to be on the train.
You know, this is the thing. I understand farmers getting up early in the morning, but everyone else is an asshole who does. Because there's no way, like, we could have easily had a civilization that said, wake up on your own, and then come into work then. Open your store then. But it only takes one moron who owns a gas station to get up before everyone else. And then everyone's got to go, yeah, we better open up our gas station too.
Exactly. That's very true.
If I was elected Obama, and there's a pretty good chances I will run this time, because I know I can beat Hillary Clinton. I'm 99% sure.
You're definitely going to be.
Yeah. And then the Republicans look like they're going to run that Alabama football coach. No, I'm not sure who they're running yet. It seems like Clinton's already locked in for the Dems, right?
I think that is pretty obvious.
It's a done deal. And then after that, probably the Alabama football coach. But I think I could beat them both, and I would run on the elect Bennington, sleep as late as you want to. It's up to you.
That's going to pull a lot of people in.
I'd also say this. Anyone who gets up early will be arrested and thrown into camps. I don't know whether I should use the term camps, though. No, that could come across a little... I mean, I just like to point out that there are some camps that did not have anything to do with Jews.
There's
that'll also be on the poster. Yeah, sure, there's summer camps.
Mm-hmm.
Those
nice. Are fun.
Yeah. That would be great to have a summer camp, but make it more like, old school, like it was an encampment.
Yeah.
6 weeks intense.
So you can get the real experience.
Yeah, get that experience. And, everybody loves to, everybody loves to LARP.
The kids really have fun with it.
That's another thing I would do. I would turn Halloween into, I just call it LARPing Day. Just LARPing Day.
That's what it is, really.
You dress up at all for Halloween?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
How come?
I don't know. It's something that it's kind of against my character in a lot of ways.
No, it isn't. You're a dresser-upper. I was a dresser-upper.
I always dress up, though. Yeah. I'm a very performative dresser.
But when I was a little kid, I would constantly be dressed as something, sailor, a cowboy,
sure,
a fireman, but just like to go outside and play.
Right, yeah.
But Halloween, amateur day.
Well, it's weird too, because when I was a kid, I don't remember seeing adults in costume.
No.
At all. And now it seems like an adult holiday.
They've taken it over from the children.
They have taken it.
Here's the things that they've taken from children, adults. They've taken away dress-up time, and they've taken away comic book movies and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's no, I mean, when people are like, I love Star Wars so much, but like, think back to when you saw Star Wars, your dad wasn't standing in line with his buddies.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? That's fucking crazy.
It's really weird. But it's an adult holiday now. I'm also told by my friends who are from the West Coast that they came to the East Coast and were shocked how big Halloween was here.
Well, it's the same when we lived in Florida, Halloween wasn't big.
Yeah. So, well, maybe it is more like a Northeast thing.
Yeah. Well, because this is the only place that has the kind of changes of the weather in the ways that the songs go and the specials go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, people all throughout the South and on the West Coast are singing White Christmas when they've never had one and there's never any chance of one. And then Halloween is all about leaves changing and all that.
I was very jealous of that growing up in Florida when I was little.
Yeah.
Was, I just wanted to experience a season so badly. Just anything to put me in the mood. Like, I was fascinated by fall, fascinated by snow. It's just like a different planet to me.
Well, the thing is, in Florida, you get the seasons of other people have left.
Right.
That's the big thing there. And then old people show up, and you're like, oh, must be winter.
It's winter where you come from.
Yeah.
But I think holidays in general are bigger in the North. All of them.
Yeah.
Like, not just Halloween, not just Christmas. I think, like...
Valentine's Day rocks it big in the Northeast. Columbus Day, which the rest of the country ignores,
Which they probably should.
Why?
Well, he wasn't a great guy, was he?
What did he do? What did Columbus do that was so bad?
Oh, I thought, what did he accomplish? No.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was a rapist and a pillager. Or he at least encouraged... I don't want to say he did the personal raping, but he definitely thought it was fine to do. And then, he was quoted as saying, like, you know what? These people would make really great slaves. They're really strong.
Right.
They're dumb. Like, he wrote a... I can't remember who he was writing. I think he was writing home. I found great slaves here.
Yeah. Imagine, like, we went to another planet, and then we just kind of considered those people to be stupid. It would be hard to think of that, because they weren't wandering around the New World and went, really, not a single wheel anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seemed very... barbaric to them.
Yeah, they were backwards.
They were a little backward.
They were little backwards people.
Backward.
Don't let it bring you down.
That was a good start.
Yeah.
Good song.
The Neil Young. I talked to Graham Nash earlier this week, and Graham said it doesn't look like there'll ever be a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young reunion. And the big reason is David Crosby said something about Neil's new chick.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Daryl Hannah from Splash.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a weird one.
David Crosby said this, at least I don't date mermaids, which
Good one.
was out of control.
Got him.
And uncalled for. Let's give all the kids out there a Halloween. It's kind of a warning. Have fun, but you want to be careful at all times. I want to do that from the one and only Frankie McDonald. Frankie McDonald is telling people to enjoy the holidays, but be careful out there.
This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Here is my advice for the Halloween night for 2014 on Friday, October the 31st, 2014. When you go trick-or-treating, you'll be very careful and extra careful. And kids will be getting lots of treats in. They'll be dressed in up costumes such as vampires, Draculas, Frankensteins, pumpkins, ghosts, and other scary costumes as well.
Okay.
And kids and people will be also dressing up as video game characters, cartoon characters, vampires, Draculas, Frankensteins, and ghosts. and pumpkins and goblins and all other scary costumes on Friday, October the 31st, 2014. When you go trick-or-treating, you need to be extra careful. There could be some bad kids doing bad things you don't want to know, because it's Halloween night can be very dangerous. When you go for a walk, be very extra careful when you go for a walk on Halloween night, since it could be a lot of bad things going on, so you don't want to know. And kids will be going trick-or-treating and getting lots of treats on a Halloween night, and kids and other people be dressing up as vampires, Draculas, Frankensteins, ghosts, goblins, and zombies, and all the other things. And the kids will also be dressing up as video game characters, cartoon characters, and other Halloween costumes as well. Just remember, on Friday, October the 31st, 2014, Halloween night, be very extra careful when you go trick-or-treating, everyone. Since there could be a lot of bad things on Halloween night, so you be very careful. I don't want to know about bad things at all. Make sure everyone to be very careful on Halloween night. Just remember, Friday, October the 31st, 2014 is a Halloween night. Best luck yet. Be very careful when you go trick-or-treating. Take care, stay safe. Be safe on Halloween night.
All right, good news there from Frankie McDonald, and best of luck to you. Best of luck to you.
What day is it?
He didn't mention what day it was. Maybe we'll play it again later in the show, just to see if maybe there's some clue of when this all happens. But I love the fact, because that's the way you think when you're a kid. There is like so much like joy because there's candy and dress up, but then is any of this real? And then, of course, you see that Frankie, even at his, advanced age and large size, still has the fear of teenagers.
He doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to know.
Teenagers, when you said that when I was a little kid in my neighborhood, when I was growing up, I'm going to date myself here, people were still allowed to hit each other without it making the news. You know what I mean? People could just come up and hit you, and that was, what happens sometimes. But screaming out, like, if you saw, like you and your friends were walking, you were down in the woods, and you saw some older kids, one of your friends would yell, teenagers, in the same way that I'm sure in the past people yelled Cossacks or Huns. You know what I mean? It was just frightening to see the teenagers had shown up because they were so sadistic and so awful.
They were terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So intimidating. Like, even I remember the feeling of being with an adult and then being like at the mall or at the movies and just being like, I just want to hide so bad from these. And they're not even going to do anything to you, but in your mind, you're just like, they were just so intimidating. And I didn't want them to know I had parents for some reason. Like, because they were there without parents. Yeah. And I didn't want them to think,
yes, being seen with parents was like the most humiliating thing that can happen to a kid in public.
You're 8 years old and you just want people to think you live alone.
Exactly. Oh, now they're going to think I'm a kid instead of what I am, a kind of a groovy type person, making things happen.
Yeah, I got my own place.
But this is the funny thing about teenagers, is they're hated by everybody that's younger than them, and then they're hated by people that are older than them, And that's why we can't understand these women's school teachers that sleep with them. Yes. It just seems like the weirdest thing ever. Yeah. Even if it wasn't against the law, it's still,
Anybody when you were young who was like older and seemed really cool and you're like, yeah, this older guy, like, it's really into me right now. If you think about who that person was.
Right.
No adult woman would want to date that person.
No, why would she want to be with some buck teeth and elbows, stupid moron talking about video games and shit like that? It'd be like, just saying to yourself, I want to drink slobber. That's where I would put it, because they just seem like they're just dripping with spit at that age. Just not knowing what to do.
Also, all these school teachers always appear to be attractive women.
Blondes.
Yeah, attractive.
They're weird blondes.
But they've got to be the worst. Because if you're attracted to somebody that age, like even 16-year-old girls don't want to sleep with 16-year-old
No,
girls.
they want to get out. Yeah, they want to be with older people. But see, that's the thing. I think a lot of these school teachers, it's that gimmick of never getting out of school. You know what I mean? So they think to themselves, I'm going to do it right this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go back and have a little poise about myself. I have a car now,
Yeah, there were always those teachers in high school who were just like trying to hang.
Yeah, they're creeps.
And they were always creepy.
Now, we never get the pictures of who these lady school teachers are with, but I'm willing to bet, like if we were gambling on molesting children, I would push all my chips in that they're black kids.
Really?
That's my feeling. And I just want, every time I see this on the news, I just think, just mention whether it's a black kid or not, because I think it is.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's usually like multiple kids, right?
Yeah.
There's always like 2 or 3.
It's only 2 or 3, or someone's watching, or then they, have cell phone pictures and videos. Mike in Jersey is rocking us this morning. Welcome to Bennington. How you doing, dude?
Hey, Ronnie, Gail, great to hear you guys. Love
Thanks, man.
the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my chick the other night, and we were talking about a Halloween and mischief night and everything, and apparently, now I don't know if this is true, New Jersey is the only state with a mischief night.
We had mischief night outside of Philadelphia, where I grew up, and in some ways it was much more exciting than, because when you're a little kid, you would hear the thing of "Don't go out, it's mischief night," and then you had a couple years of doing mischief night, and then your dad would be like, after that, "Hey, keep an eye on the house, it's mischief night." I'm like, what? Really? Now I'm a guard? Like that's it? I'm walking the perimeter for us. So you went out. Now, some people in other parts of the country, I know it's known as Hell Night, some places.
Yeah.
Some stupid people call it Gate Night.
Gate?
Yeah, Gate Night. What did you guys used to do in your neighborhood, Mike?
In my town, it's a nice, small, quiet town. Mainly just you made mischief. Toilet paper.
Yeah.
Toilet paper in the trees, shaving cream on the cars.
Right.
Like silly stuff. Just
nice, fun suburban stuff. Some soap on the windows. There was always
soap. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Now in Detroit, where it would be Hell Night, what they used to do was light the city on fire. Just their idea would go a little
too far.
Yeah, they would go a little differently with it. But that would always be that there would be a couple of things that you and your buddies would go out, and one of the things we would do is put kids on each side of the road, right? And then a car would be driving along, and then you would yell, "Pull!" And everybody would yank backwards on this imaginary rope, right? And the car would be driving along and have to hit their brakes. And then it would be like, ah. But some dudes would just hop out of the car and start chasing kids. And then you would go from being the person who was doing some fun mischief to, oh my God, I'm running for my life. And I always used to have a trick there, because there would be a bunch of us, and I would try to kick one of my friends in the heels so they fell down. Because just like in the animal kingdom, once a lion gets an antelope, he's satisfied. He doesn't feel the need to get everybody, just one kid.
The weak ones go first.
Yeah, the weak ones go down and they satisfy that circle of life, and everything's taken care of.
It seems like mischief night. Why not just do it on Halloween? Everyone's out preoccupied with other things. It seems like you could get away with more.
Yeah, but then you've got your candy. So the trick, I've got to focus on candy now. It's candy time because but the whole trick or treat was, if you don't give us a treat, we're going to screw with your house. That was the immediate thing. Right. So we would do stuff to the people who turned off their light and sat in the back room.
Their pumpkins were normally not there when they got up in the morning.
Yeah, that kind of stuff would happen all the time. See, my mom used to do a thing where she would make, this is also dating myself to show that this wouldn't happen now. She would make apple taffies, right? Mm-hmm. So you'd have the apple, and then she would, and this kind of really, I would drive her crazy if I got this wrong, so I'm not going to, but it was like a maple syrup type thing that it went into. But the funny thing about it is, then she shoved this really sharp stick into it, so that when you ate down to it, there was a very sharp stick. And then, when she had it done, and she used to do hundreds, like, we were famous for our apple taffies, like people would want to go to our house first before we ran out. But then we should just take like plastic and put it over. There was no, parents would be frightened of this today. But somebody like down the street from us did not give out any candy. And then one kid, and I don't want to say who it was, but it was one of the Smith boys. He took the apple taffy and threw it through their front window, smashing it. So later, when questioned by police, he explained it this way. I was biting into the apple taffy, it slipped, and went through the window.
That's a reasonable explanation.
It could happen. I mean,
who totally could.
We're not scientists. We don't know.
Do people still check candy? Is that a thing that they do?
Yeah, they X-ray candy now. They X-ray it.
And isn't it, I feel like I read before, like, that actually never even happened, like the razor blade and the candy and poisoning kids. It's something that was kind of made up, and then everyone feared it after that.
Well, I'll give this away, and I mean, I've never told this, but this happened to me when I was a kid, something very closely, and it was a weird family who lived there, and they had given me it's hard for me even to talk about, but they had given me a package of razor blades, but what I didn't know is that they had stuffed an apple down inside of it. So I went to shave later, and I got applesauce all over my face.
That is
They never warn kids about that now. Check your razors. There could be a thin mint in there. The other thing that would be the big rumor for us when we were little kids was, I'll just put it nicely because it's 2014, minorities. So you'd be walking around with your bag, and you're doing well, and you're filling your bag up, and exciting, and then you would see one of your friends with a dumb mask on, and he would go, "Did you hear some minorities were around here?" And they jumped, and he would, and these stories were rarely true, but the rumor was out that minorities were ruining Halloween for everybody. So that acted to that, that's why Frankie is the way he is. It acts to the terror.
I know, it's so scary out there. I don't even want to know.
I don't want to know anything about bad things, which is a great way of dealing with news.
It's so cute because you can hear his parents in that. Like, you don't even want to know. You don't need to know, but there are bad things.
Yeah, bad things. It seems like it's locked in his head because he does some variation of this every single year. So the two things that he's worried about, Halloween, teenagers, and weather. Yeah. And Frankie McDonald, he's thinking about it all the time. But then other times he's in a good mood, and he's the dancing guy. The guy's dancing.
The guy is dancing.
He's the best. Here's James in Detroit. James, go ahead.
Hey, guys. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know you had mentioned that you said in Detroit they call it Hell Week. It's actually known as Devil's Night here, and it's even worse than burning down houses, even till now. It's as bad as
just random shootings, assault.
Okay, kids, watch out for drive-bys. And then you'll see video characters, cartoon characters. Sometimes they'll grab a kid and shoot him in the throat. December 31st, 2014.
It's like Grand Theft Auto here on Devil's Night, and there's a watch group called Angels Night now that's supposed to counteract it. It's a mess. But
that's when people stop you and make out with you. So Detroit still not getting out of the weirdness, huh?
Not at all. It's seriously, it's like 10 years ago. I think it was starting to get a little better, maybe 5 years ago, but it's still just as bad as it was like 15 years ago. Devil's Night is in full effect. It's just chaos.
Well, I always have this fantasy of moving to Detroit, because you can get some great places for you can get a really nice house there for $190, and then to be part of the rebirth, because it happened in New York. I can imagine it can happen other places.
You want to flip it.
Yeah, flip that house. I want to go out there and start flipping houses. But I don't want to be shot in a drive-by when I'm going out to get some candies.
Well, just stay away Devil's Night, man, because it's still alive and kicking over here.
And it's always the night before Halloween, Devil's Night?
Exactly.
I'm going to give you the greatest prank of all time. But I will tell you now, then you would get yelled at. Today, you would probably arrest it and make the papers, But there used to be train tracks near my house and a little place that where you would cross over. You're driving, you would cross over the train tracks, and every once in a while that thing when the gate would come down and the little alarm goes off. So the kids would be up there on the train tracks, and you'd have a large light and one of those air horns that you can blow. And as the car's going over, you just hit the light and the air horn at the same time, and someone feels like a train is bearing down on them.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, but it's not an actual train. That's the best part of it. That's the best part of any prank, is I thought I was going to die, but I'm not. Bad prank is I thought I was going to die, and I did. That's a Detroit prank.
That's the worst kind of prank.
Yeah, I'm giving you a nice suburb prank.
Harmless.
Now, you and your friends didn't do any kind of mischief stuff. You were...
No, because, in the city, it's not really like a thing.
What are you going to do? Soap somebody's lobby?
Yeah. Although years ago, I was in upstate New York, and I went to buy eggs one morning, and they asked me for my ID.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know that this was a thing. And I was like, for what? And they're like, for the eggs.
Yeah.
And I had to prove that I was over 18 because they said they have to do it all week. And I think that's something just local, that particular town made a thing.
Local police department will decide if anyone's going to get spray paint, eggs, or toilet paper. Watch out for December 31st, 2014. Kids will be buying eggs. Kids will be buying toilet paper. In my neighborhood, I probably shouldn't give any names away, but we used to call the night before Halloween, let's get the Hoyts. Because those people were not pleasant, and she had was a school teacher, so it made it even better. She was like an old lady school teacher, so it was even better.
So it wasn't kids; it was just adults that you.
No, it was children. But we would go to their house and screw with their house, and it would be, we would do really, small stuff. And a very big part of it was called minority knocking, where you would go up on the door, knock, and then run away. And the person would come out and look, and shut the door, and a minute later, you're back. And I don't know, but if you're 9, it seems like the greatest thing in the whole world.
I have a feeling you didn't call it minority knocking.
We did. We called it minority knocking because we wanted to be careful. Here's Kent. Kent, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Huh.
Hey, I just want to, think it was really cool having you on Fridays. woke up like dragging ass this morning. I turned it on, and like that's my favorite Neil Young song ever. I was just seeing if you picked that out. I didn't know if they were programming that before the show or not.
No. We took it upon ourselves to play Neil Young. We're going to use Neil Young as our house band today.
I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it's a Neil Young Halloween, Salute to Halloween. But thank you for bringing it up. And yeah, I'm past the point where I'm going to let someone program my music.
There was a vote, though.
We want you to play some Def Leppard. Yeah, it's really testing great. No, Animal. Play Animal. When I first started in radio, I was so naive to it all, because I'd come out of a comedy background, and I'd just been not any different than you, just coming in and hanging and just, right. If someone stopped talking, I would start. And then finally, like a couple weeks into it, I'm like, hey, what do they have? Like 8 songs in this fucking place? Like, where's the music? You guys need me to bring some shit from home? No, we test music. I'm like, with who? Nerds? We play the worst rock. We got some Sammy Hagar coming up at you.
Is radio still like that?
More than that. More. We had more freedom years ago than they do now. Now, a lot of times you're listening to radio, and it's just a computer, It's basically someone's iPad with every once in a while stuff thrown in from people days before, Awful.
Yeah, that's not good.
I always like the thing of a guy's in there, and he's talking, and he says, somebody calls and he goes, what? You've never heard this song before? Let me put this one on for you. To me, that's radio. Mm-hmm. That's always been my favorite kind of radio. And there are people who do that here. I was listening to our Outlaw Country station, and it's great. There's some stations on here that do nothing for me because I feel like they're pre-programmed. But there's always new music to find over there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some really cool...
Well, there's like really cool people even hosting some of the shows. You know what I mean? There's just really great people. Here's Andrew in Ohio.
Hey, Ronnie. Love the intro music this morning, but it sounds like they kind of changed the lyrics on your Chris Stanley song. When I was a little kid, we went trick-or-treating one time and decided we were going to try some eggs. And I don't know if we really knew how to egg a house. You're supposed to hit the siding. So we just threw them, and we just heard this horrible shattering sound and realized you're not supposed to throw the eggs right at the window.
Right.
So we just, oh, God, it was the ultimate kid's nightmare. You just hear this shatter. And on Halloween, cops driving everywhere, making sure kids are not doing that. Maybe they should have checked their ID before we bought the eggs, but just...
And that's the problem, like, giving kids any freedom at all is, like, they think they're having fun, and then one of them gets paralyzed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, they're so stupid that they run into the street. Children will run into the street like idiots.
They also think that they've invented everything that they do.
Like everything's new? Yeah.
Like, I don't want my parents to know about what I do on mischief night.
Right.
Some pretty crazy stuff that we're into. Like, I see kids on the train coming off of, just getting out of school, and they're just trying to be so shocking and, like, we're really loud. We'll just, sit down right here on the platform. You're like... Yeah, kid. That was me.
That's all new.
Come on.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Marijuana, how edgy. Wouldn't it be better if we had some reefer? Yeah, because it's so cool.
Let's just make out right here.
Yes, you're the first that have thought of any of these things. Like if aliens came to this planet, they would probably go like this. The shorter ones are idiots, aren't they? They're just they're just
terrible.
Really stupid. But do you think like Chinese 14-year-olds are just obnoxious and weird too?
Probably in their own way, in their own culture,
in their own Chinese way.
They're doing things that irritate adults in their own way. Yeah.
They're probably the only ones who think that they're the first ones who thought of turning their chopsticks around the other way and eating the fat part. Oh, you're a badass. You're a badass. But also,
or using a fork.
I never understand the people who sit around and get crazy about how angry they are about kids hanging out on a corner or something.
Yeah, it's silly.
And I remember like you would meet people, we got to do something about these kids to bring it down. You'd be like, you were never a kid, dude.
Yeah,
they're just hanging out.
You did the same stuff.
I imagine they're over there listening to Cheap Trick. What was that movie? Over the Edge, On the Edge. Did you ever see that? It was like one of the great, really, really great teenagers have nowhere to go movies. And
who's in this?
Matt Dillon's first movie.
I have seen it, and I only saw it very recently, like within the last couple years.
And what's funny about it is he was found for that movie just wandering around some high school, and he had the Matt Dillon thing already down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They were just just do that.
Yeah, just come in and just say what you would normally say, obnoxiously.
Who else was, some other kid was found that same way. What was the Pick Flick movie? And it was Chris Klein, is that his name?
Oh, yeah. Chris Klein, yeah.
They cast him
Election.
Election.
Yeah.
And they were walking, because they were shooting at his high school.
Yeah.
And they're like, you big dumb animal. It's you.
You pretty big dumb animal.
You do that. You just do you.
And now he's still there wondering why he stopped getting parts, But I'm still doing the same thing.
He's still wandering the halls.
Yeah, I'm still doing the same thing. She's a great girl. Hey, Skip in Jersey. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all the jobs.
I do have a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I used to do all this stuff on Mischief Night and everything. I'm out here in the suburbs. They don't get too wild, but really didn't want to wash the windows again. So one night I just sat out there with a couple of cans of beers, waited in the bushes. These kids came up to my windows in my house, smashed the beers on the ground, and they started spraying. I sprayed these kids until they smelled like a brewery. And I let them go home, try to explain that to their parents.
And here's what they're going to say. That odd man down the street poured beer all over me. And then you go to jail forever. See, but I will give you this. Without someone, some adult getting weird like that, then it's not as much fun. You really do need to be chased. This is how stupid and weird kids are. They like movies where people get stabbed or tortured or cut. I can't even comprehend these slasher movies.
I don't like them. I don't like to be scared. I always think that it's going to be a good idea, and I'm kind of a baby about it. I don't like it. I can't sleep. I can't sleep.
Knowing that there's slashers out there?
Why would you want to feel terrible? This is an art form that inflicts bad feelings on you.
Well, I guess it's like their version of a roller coaster where you pretend you're on a runaway train, but you're not. Like everyone who says, I love a roller coaster, would not like to be on a train that had somehow been out of control,
But movies that you have seen, scary movies that you've seen, aren't there still triggers in your mind that will remind you, you're in the shower and you think about
well, yeah. I mean, I've never, and I guess this isn't a horror film, but I've never been in the ocean where I haven't felt my legs dangling for Jaws. That scene of just the dangling legs.
Yes. And when I go underwater.
Yeah.
In the ocean at the beach, and you can hear the muffled sound of people playing and laughing, and
yeah,
I immediately start doing Jaws theme in my head and have to go I'm done. I'm just gonna lay out for a little bit.
Well, this is when I think of Jaws the most. If you're scuba diving at night and you're down underwater with a flashlight and you find a boat that's got a big hole in the hull, I'm always expecting this mangled dead head to just come in. That scene, which was the scream scene of all time.
Because it had the shrill sound. It was like all...
Yeah. But here's the thing. There was no reason for that head just to come whipping into that. I mean, was there a jellyfish pushing it? Why did that happen? And I saw that in the theater. And I can't tell you the long scream that took place in a packed theater. People just screamed.
I can imagine.
As if the bottom had fallen out of the theater and we were all going down.
I scream now, watching it on a television, even though I've seen it 100 times.
Amity means friendship. And you kids are getting in that water. Take your family, put them in that water.
It's a summer town.
It's a summer town. You close those beaches down. And you
summer dollars.
You gang rape us. No. He was the worst. And the funniest thing about that movie is what is the stupid jacket that he's wearing with anchors on it.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love that character.
Oh, it's the best. He's got to be... there's always great bad politicians in movies, but he's got to be the best. But I'm going to give you a Jaws thing to go back and watch. Remember when Brody finds the first body on the beach? Mm-hmm. He's with this strange... high short wearing gay guy, and the two of them are just walking down the beach together, and you're like, what happened in the scenes before this? Was Brody...
I remember who you're talking about.
It just seemed like Brody was cruising this dude minutes before they found the girl's body, and it never comes up.
Then there's that also very effeminate man who says, "Oh, what?" Tiger shark. Oh, what? That is the best.
Oh, now I got to go back for that.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I have no idea why this guy talks like that. You never hear him again. And he's kind of a big dude. He's kind of a big dude.
Yeah.
What kind of shark is that? Tiger shark. Oh, what? So good.
All right, I'm going to try to get the number down now without doing all the other logo. Just when you see the scribbled writing, they gave it to me in. And it's 8 squiggly line, 7 squiggly line, upside down U, half a B. Now look how... This is what's so terrible. So you see how the 6s look like sperms, right? And
I
now
do see that.
You can see that the 9 looks like a sperm going in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 866-766-0339. The show is Bennington. This is something we do on Friday mornings. I think more and more as things go on, there'll be more Fridays opening up depending on the schedule. Also, I want everybody to know you can go to the Pete Holmes Unmasked, which we're doing next week at Caroline's. So you come out to Caroline's, it's totally free. Next Thursday afternoon, Pete Holmes Unmasked, Caroline's Comedy Club in New York City. Just go to the ibang.com. theibang.com. Over there, all the details are at the iBang. And we'll go over here to Keith. Keith, welcome to Bennington.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
How do all these traditions get spread? Is there like a Johnny Appleseed that goes out there telling all these kids how to use toilet paper and doing that rope trick? Like, because I could have sworn we came up with the rope trick, and then you bring it up. Like,
I'm sure none.
Trick?
I know someone had to show me the rope trick. I'm not that brilliant to come.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be Bennington and Teller if I could come up with the rope trick. But the illusion is a perfect one, and I don't know why people were afraid to hit a rope in their car. I guess they didn't want to drag children down the street. But yeah, it is just like, and I guess they don't happen anymore. Like the phone pranks were big when I was younger, where is your refrigerator running? Go catch it.
It must be passed down by older kids, like kids with older siblings. That's got to be.
Yeah, older uncool people in your family who are like, what we do, dude. The old rope trick.
When I was in 4th grade, we used to have a blast.
Wait, You telling me that none of you kids TP anyone? Shit. When we were your age, we were already drinking Schmidt's beer. I was going to go get a box of beer right now if you guys want to throw in for a sixer.
It's just a sixer.
Yeah. Smacking around a sixer a little bit. You got one of those six daddies in there? Want to keep a little change in my pocket?
All right.
But remember that thing where, like, where he, that movie where the little kid goes in and just steals the lines? Did you see the new, wow, what the hell, is it Boyhood, the new movie by him?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
I feel like, all right, I'm going to give, I want you to watch out for it anyway.
Okay.
But I'm going to give a spoiler alert now.
All right.
In that movie, which, by the way, is great, great, the kid goes into a store, and that same dude is still working there.
I did see that movie.
How do you not know that?
I don't know. Boyhood, it's like a generic, it's all-encompassing, that word.
You didn't love that movie, though?
I liked it a lot.
Just liked. I think it's genius.
I liked it.
I like it all.
But I picked it up right away because that convenience store guy is so like recognizable. He has just like such a strange face, and it was I picked it up right away.
But it seems like it's the second gig that he's had in 20 years. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't done anything since then.
That's it.
That's it. Like,
he's got one character
and works for the same director every 2 decades.
Remember to eat a green thing. She's like buying cigarettes. And, it's the best.
It is spooky Halloween. By the way, I'm always weirded out when people come to work. Like, there'll always be some secretary or accountant dressed up here. And that's really creepy. That's really weird.
I'm a sexy cat.
Oh.
What was the sexy ladybug? Is that what you guys saw?
Sexy ladybug that was down working for NBC Universal. I got my sexy ladybug costume. I can't wait to put it on. Be like a sexy ladybug. And like if there was a way, I don't know why it was me and Hicks were in there, but if we could have gotten away with killing someone on an elevator, if there was like any perfect crime that you could have gotten away with it, we would have done it.
Why do you want to be a sexy ladybug? Why do you need to make a ladybug sexy?
Because I'm afraid of my own sexuality, and it's the one night to do something with it.
One problem I've always had about ladybugs is they're not sexy enough.
They're actually creepy. Ladybugs is the only bugs that you're not permitted to kill. And I was always told it's a federal law that you can't kill them because somehow they eat things that eat the corn.
Oh, really? I just thought it was like a jinx, it's a bad omen.
I always thought it was law. And that you had to let it down and say that ladybug, fly away thing. And then you're forced to watch like their metal weird tank back open up into wings like a transformer.
So sexy.
And fly away. Yeah, I guess it is.
It's really sexy when you think about it.
No one's enjoying my sexy ladybug.
That's maybe the only bug that you could make sexy. You can't
sexy
be a
spider.
Yeah. With all the appendages, that could be really sexy.
And you're making your own web. See what I'm doing?
Egg sacs or something.
That's the egg sac hanging down at the bottom.
So sexy.
I think it's I when people say no, you didn't get dressed up, and I go like this, oh yeah, I'm dressed up. I'm dressed up as a guy whose dreams were unfulfilled. Thought I would have made it to baseball. Never happened for me. I'm dressed as a guy just holding a lot of secrets inside and regrets. Please give me some candy. That's another thing teenagers will do. Will just show up in a hoodie and a pillowcase.
Yeah.
Give me some candy, old man. Give me some candy.
I would say no. I'll risk the trick.
Well, you don't want them later then urinate on your front stoop.
Gross.
You know, we got a live read coming up today. It's going to be big for you. It's going to be your first big live read in radio. Mm. How come I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks? Is this, you know...
What do you mean?
You never stop by? You never, busy? Are you dressed in...
I knew I was going to see you.
That's the only way now. Are you dressing Birdie up this year?
She was gifted a costume, and really? I did put her in it. I will say I would not normally buy a costume for a dog. I'm not a crazy person.
Yeah.
But someone gifted her a sailor costume, and I did put it on her.
Yeah.
And it is pretty adorable.
Now, we had talked before. I've just shown pictures of a Birdie to different people. If you ever want to put one up online, we could, but I don't want then someone to stalk and try to want your dog.
I'm worried about that.
Because your dog is too perfect.
She is so pretty.
Is she?
Yeah.
She's aloof, though.
She is a bit aloof.
If Gail's dog was a person, it would be Michelle Pfeiffer in Scarface.
Mm-hmm.
But you take pictures that make it look like a Wes Anderson movie.
I do.
Yeah.
She's very photogenic.
Well, it's the weirdest thing. Gail must have taken so many pictures of this dog that if I have my phone out, like I'll be checking for text messages, and the dog will see me and stop and pose in front of me. And I'll be like, no one's taking a picture. No, I have to take a fake picture. Like, here, good dog.
Birdie, if I take my phone out, she sits and puts her head up. It's like a weird thing.
Birdie is the name of this dog. Full name is Birdie Num Num, but
she's named after a few things.
Birdie Num Num.
Mm-hmm.
Another great movie that couldn't be made today.
Could not, but it's so good.
The Party. The great Peter Sellers.
Such a good movie. I bought that soundtrack on vinyl recently.
Really?
It's so good. It's perfect party music. You could just play that at a party, and it's just...
My favorite person in the entire movie is that weird cowboy guy who...
The movie star.
Yeah.
He's like a movie star.
But he actually, plays a cowboy in the movies, and then I guess goes to parties dressed as an effeminate cowboy. Hey, little buddy. You busted my hand. That's so good. Here's Michael in PA. You're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, Ronnie. Morning.
Morning.
Hey, I just want to say, it's kind of shitty that these kids, with everything going on, they can't even, dress up, have parties, things like that. Those things that we used to be able to do.
What are you talking about? Kids can dress up in parties. No one's stopping them.
No, in school? No. A lot of the schools around by me out in PA, and I think the same goes in Jersey. They're not allowing that, and they don't want certain costumes to be worn, and, we didn't have to go through any of that when we were younger. We used to dress up, have a parade around the school. Parents used to show up, take pictures, have contests, who had the best costume.
Now, let's be honest. Wasn't that the most annoying day of school, though? Like any Halloween party, the first 5 minutes are fun, and then after that, it sucks.
Especially
you got treats. You got treats. You got to do all the different
Well, you can
events.
still have treats. You just can't dress up as porn stars. Now, here's the weird thing. Christmas, you can't dress up because people are like, it's too Christian. And Halloween, you can't do it because the Christians go, it's not Christian enough. So really,
what
the kids are getting
middle ground. Where do you want us to be?
Secular Christians is a religion I'm trying to start. It's Christians who don't talk about it out loud.
I could support that.
Christians who are not allowed to do anything about it.
Very quietly Christian.
I like the fact that we have these new Christian, there's a new Christian movie genre that's out now where you'll just make a movie with Christian beliefs in it. They're starting to make real money. They're like independent films.
Right, and treating it like a history movie. It's like right? Is that what you mean?
No, you got the historical ones, but then the other ones that are like some kid who goes to school and tells his professor, no, there is a God. Give me an F if you want to, but I definitely believe. And then there was the other one that came out this year that everyone just all the good people disappeared. They got sucked up into heaven.
What is it? The Revelations, the...
Number 9?
Taken?
Number 9?
Taken.
Taken by God.
Taken.
Where he's actually saying to God, I'm going to be able to do something.
I have a special set of skills.
Yeah. Here is Lindsay in Maine. What's happening, Lindsay?
Hey, Ronnie. Just wanted to bring up, have you heard of the new trick-or-treating that they do in parking lots? They have the kids, they open up the trunks, decorate the trunks, and have the kids walk around to the different cars instead of walking from house to house.
All right, so I will actually say to some of the kids, you hear one of the kids got thrown in a trunk.
Yeah. Seems like a way to lure children into your trunk. That's
Got in the trunk. There's stuff in there for you.
I find it so bizarre. They have different themes like Frozen, and it's just bizarre.
Boy, the kids love that Frozen, don't they? Yeah. I had to see the Frozen movie because I had Josh Gad on. So before it came out, I went and saw it, and I was like, "This is the worst kids movie I've ever seen."
Is it?
Yeah, but I was wrong. They love it. I felt like I had to wait until the magical snowman came out before it was funny at all. But children love it instead. It's the biggest movie that's ever happened in the history of the world.
What is the premise? She's a frozen princess?
Yeah, they're two sisters, and they live in a frozen land. And then one of them gets extra frozen somehow, like if they touch somebody or see someone. So she's got to stay away even from her own sister. And for some reason, and then their parents get killed in a boat accident. And then later, you find out that a prince shows up and is going to be nice to them. Or is he? That's the fucking swerve. That's the big swerve.
They're still doing this in kids' movies where they're playing on the fear of your parents being murdered or killed.
It's the best fear for a child.
That's all Disney movies. That's the whole thing is like, what if your mom was a deer and then she got shot?
Right.
Wouldn't that be sad? It's very manipulative. It's terrifying.
Well,
because of course you're going to be...
Yeah, I mean, if you're being honest, film is manipulative. That's the whole point. Like, what's the easiest way I can get people to feel an emotion? And I guess when you're a little kid, your parents are your entire world.
Yes, it's one of your first fears that you develop is being separated from your parents or your parents being taken away.
That was the worst thought. I mean, even thinking it now. You know, but I remember being a little kid, and I would just be thinking, "Where's my mom? Oh, there she is. Okay, that's good.
Just
so we're having fun. There she is. She's still over there. Okay, got a mom here, so that's all great."
That's what Birdie does.
Yeah, does Birdie do the same thing? But that's why I despised kindergarten when I went there. It just felt, I must have been like Buster, where I just felt like, what's mom doing now?
Don't you miss mom?
We probably ought to give mom a call. But that was like weird to me. And then I couldn't even imagine it. I didn't have babysitters, you know. I had relatives, you know. So if my parents went out, I had, you know, a sister, an aunt, a grandparent. So there was a sense of being normal. You know, we just sat around and talked about how weird teenagers are. You're going to trust your kid to some weird teenager?
I can't imagine. I was one of those weird teenagers.
You babysat people.
I did. That's what I did in high school. But I never had that experience. I mean, I was not allowed to just stay with strange people who we weren't related to.
Well, you had people in your life, and I grew up the same way, that loved you as much as your mother did. Like, your aunts loved you as much as your mother.
Takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village of people with like the same last name, you know?
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't just trust them to the other villagers, or now we're talking about babysitters, you know?
I had a group of mother-like women around me.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
A coven of mothers, really.
It's the weirdest thing that we both got that same thing, because my older sister is like, I don't know, like 11 years older than me or something. And she was like junior mom. You know what I mean? Like, and then I had my aunt, who was my mom's sister, who loved me as much as my mother did. And had nothing but grandmothers and great-grandmothers running around. So I think I saw this... Mel Brooks said that he had so many women around him that his feet never touched the ground till he was 3 years old. I identify with that completely. You know, these women loved me to a fault. You know, my older sister, if I think back now, how nice that girl was to me, I can't even believe it.
She took you around, and she would took
me places.
Like, she'd go out on dates with her boyfriend.
I would go along. You know, he must have hated that. You know.
This kid.
Yeah, and I'd be like, well, looks like we're going out to a nice restaurant tonight, the three of us. She just wanted me to go along, you know? And the confusing part was when you have an older sister like that, and if you're going to have children, girl, then boy.
It's the best.
That's the perfect way to do it. If you do a boy, then girl, you're basically leaving that little girl with a mean kidnapper. But if the girl is older, she'll take interest in that kid.
Even if I think they're not that much older.
Yes.
You know, it's oftentimes a girl's instinct to immediately be like, well, let's learn how to change the baby and give the baby a bath, and you know.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got a walking, talking doll for a girl. But my older sister, the confusing thing is, she told me I could do a lot of things well that I really couldn't, and I believed her. And I'm like, I am a good singer, I guess. You know.
You're going to be a dancer one day.
I probably am. I've been hearing a lot of feedback about how good I dance, you know. Everything she told me I did, you know, was like really great. And then later,
definitely had that experience.
Yeah, later when it gets competitive, you're like, wow, I got some bad early, you know, those early reviews were a little more kind than I expected. Like, you thought you could do everything well. But don't you think, like, that's the best thing for a kid to have, like, a bunch of women around?
Yeah, I think it's pretty important.
Then at a certain time, of course, you want to spend more time with the dudes, you know? You want to be with the guys. But early on, you could do without men.
Yeah.
You know? There should be, like, a family should be set up where the kid just goes through and, like, no, he's old enough to be around the men. Go ahead over there and learn all the bad things. But I think that's, you know, people that don't grow up that way, I'm sure that their outlook to life is totally different. Like, when I see people that, like, you know, women are bitches and whores, and I'm like, your background must be totally different than mine.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's weird that you have to be like, you must have some woman in your life that you don't hate that would stop you from saying something like that.
Yeah, but don't you think there had to be one that they did hate that started this?
But that's all it takes. You know what I mean?
One?
It's just like one woman.
Yeah.
I hate women. They're horrible. Why? You didn't like one lady?
Something happened.
She's just one lady.
But all the women that I know growing up, even, you know, the louder, crazier ones, they just all liked kids very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember just having, just like ants, grab my face real hard and pull me over.
Very aggressive with the affection. Ants are always aggressive with affection.
Where's your sugar at, huh? My mouth! You pushed my mouth together! Where's that sugar?
On your side, the women always were telling me that I didn't love them.
Yes.
That's what I remember. You don't love me. What? I do. Mm-mm. You don't love me. I do love you. Show me.
Yeah, that's like a Philly thing. That was a little kiss.
I want to prove to you.
Look at you.
I'm scared.
Well, there were a lot of those loud ants and stuff like that. Loud, aggressive ants. You don't love me. You know me?
You don't know me. Yeah, that's another thing. make you say their name just to be sure you remember which aunt they are.
Well, you lived far away from them. So when we took you around, they naturally thought that since you were not being, raised in the shadow of Billy Penn, that somehow you'd gotten soft down there. There was
These would be like great aunts. So, yeah, like your aunts.
Yeah. Well, my aunts were incredibly aggressive.
Right.
My aunts, hardcore, drank highballs. Just highballs. Constant. Mm-hmm. And then I had never heard the word again. You know what I mean?
Well, I was just going to say that was like my first introduction to like what a drink was.
Yeah.
Was them saying like, make me another highball, Ray. Make me another highball,
Ray.
Make me another highball. And it was like this word was so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But what is it? Like, what are they calling a highball?
Really like a 7 and 7 is all they're talking about. Although I remember one time when I was a little kid, and my grandmother asked me for a highball, and I'm telling you now, people would be alarmed because I was way too young to be mixology part of it. But so I give it to her, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. I look, the color's good. I give it to her. She takes the head off it, and she goes, "What are you trying to do? Rot my teeth?" And I'm like, "What?" And what are you trying to do, Ronnie? And she did not want 7. She wanted water in. And she basically said, because I gave her a whiskey and 7-Up, not a whiskey and water, that somehow I was trying to affect her health. And perhaps to get to the bottom of the Marge money that was waiting.
You start with the teeth.
Yeah. That was also very funny about her, was we normally call her, a lot of times call her grandmother just by her first name. Mm-hmm. Marge.
Yeah, I called her Marge.
Did you?
Yeah.
She was funny, man. She was funny, but always ready to throw. All the women in my family were always ready to throw down. They were always ready for, some shit to happen.
Yeah. Well, you got to be tough. Got to be tough to raise.
I've seen a bunch of them come flying out of the houses over different, ready to go after the neighbors and stuff. There would even be a thing. Again, we were talking about this, like you don't teach kids to punch anymore. But all my uncles and stuff would be saying stuff like, you got to hit them first, right? If somebody starts at you, if you're getting a look,
just advice.
Punch him right in the throat.
It's
You'd
really
be like,
terrible.
Wow, I'm only 4, but okay. Must be crazy on the outside of that door, huh? Teenagers. But that's very funny that, you would never go into a bar and say, "Can I have a highball?"
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, this must have been like a 1930s phrase.
Which highball? Because that's a type of drink, right?
Is it? I don't know. I know
only a highball glass is a glass that a cocktail can
like a tumbler.
Yeah, a tumbler is the same as a highball glass.
But they were obsessed with using that thing. Look what it is. It's Hard Rock Johnny from the Hard Rock. Johnny.
Hello, boy and girl, I guess. Now?
Yes, that's right. Now you say boys and girls.
It's Benningtons. Hello, Benningtons. How's that? I'm a little nervous calling this show.
You should be, because, it's a little early for you.
It's early.
Yeah, it's early. Can I go back a minute? The guy talking about this new Halloween thing where they open their car trunks.
Trunk City, they call it?
Trunk or treat, and I was very confused because Eddie Trunk posted a picture of it, and he said, I went to my first trunk or treat event, and I thought it was like some promo that Eddie came up with for himself.
I want to get Metallica.
I was so confused. I'm like, wow, Eddie's now capitalizing on Halloween. It's a trunk or treat event.
Isn't metal really just Halloween music anyway?
It's so spooky.
Yeah.
They used to all dress up in costumes. I mean, Kiss was just a bunch of guys who dressed up for Halloween every day.
By the way, I don't think anything is worse than when a person goes to a concert and then attempts to dress metal or punk when they don't normally do that. Weekend punk is not the way to go.
Part-time punk.
Is that it?
We're weekend punk. Either way.
A part-time punk. That sounds like the worst thing you could be called.
Yeah.
Or the metal people, posers. Mm-hmm. And that's even when you're doing it well. You're a poser.
Mm-hmm.
Trunk or Treat with Eddie Trunk. He ought to do that show.
That Trunk or Treat show?
Yeah, you're listening to Trunk or Treat. Coming up a little bit, we got some great treats for you.
But first, I'm going to pull something out of the trunk for you.
Out of the trunk. And then I would, if I was him, if I did Trunk or Treat, I would have like an elephant thing go off. You know what I mean? Like there's a big trunk sound.
Punny.
How come he hasn't done a big party at your place lately?
I don't know. Well, we did one last year. It was like, so just about a year ago, we did his big 30th anniversary of being in hard rock and heavy metal DJ in somewhere in the tri-state area.
It's called 30 Years of Unhappiness. The
Eddie Trunk story.
Eddie Trunk is everybody's favorite because if you see him in the hall here, he's ready to rip management with you in just a heartbeat. You always get a couple minutes, you're like, yeah, you're right, they do suck. I don't know. I'm just going to do my thing, you know?
Those are always the best people to have at work.
And I just saw his phone screener the other day, and she stopped me and was bitching about it.
He's got his brainwashing going on.
I saw his phone screener, this was a couple months ago, and she's only in like once a week, and then I look up and I'm walking in the hall and she looks and she goes, they're moving you off Raw Dog? That's crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you get moved off Raw Dog. I go, why would the phone screener know something I don't know? Why are they moving you? Doesn't make sense. So, yeah, you need to get together in one of those Bumblefoot parties.
Oh, no.
You, where are you heading today, Johnny? The shore, or are you actually going to work on a Friday?
Working. I'm already in the office, getting some work done.
You and Opie kind of on the same schedule, where if the summer shows up, you're like, no, not on Friday.
No, I work Fridays during the non-summer time.
And no one fires you for this, Johnny? No one... See, this is the other thing about the Northeast. People... You couldn't find a deader day up here than on Fridays.
In the summer, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about holidays. Every Friday is a holiday. You can't get anybody on the phone. You can't run into anyone. The booking department's going. The people that are here are high as hell in those vape pens, which I probably shouldn't say. But they sit around and vape quite a bit.
Fridays in like restaurants and bars can be really quiet in the summer. Like a night that normally is kind of bumping in the wintertime.
Yeah. Well, people need to get out of town. They got to, and it's really weird too. Like you can travel so far. Like you can get in your car, drive 8 hours, go into a hotel, and then meet all these people who live like 3 blocks from you. Like, yeah, but that Christie's sucks. And you're like, what? Why are we talking about Christie's now? I tried to get away from the city. Where you get your pizza? I'm like, come on. That's not the whole point of this.
You're trying to also just get away from
people like that.
Yeah, people like that.
And those same discussions.
Last year I went apple picking upstate New York, but it wasn't far enough upstate, so it was like everyone from the city was there, and it was like being in a crowded city street. Yeah. But instead we're around apples, and there's like lanes of people, obnoxious kids were screaming.
Lady, that's my apple.
Yeah, fighting, really loud.
Yeah, there is New York City just regurgitates itself all over these adorable small towns in the summer,
and they don't like them.
Well, they don't like them, but they like that money. Yeah. You're not going to shut those beaches, Brody.
We need $7.
Amity means friendship. All right, Johnny, get back to sleep, buddy.
All right, boys and girl.
And girl. All right, boys. By the way, Chris Stanley already messing up that thing that we're supposed to be doing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's already being Chris Stanley. So I'll get back to you.
I'll take care of it. Let me take care of it. We'll talk about that. I'll do the whole thing. We don't need them.
All right. Peace.
All right. Yep.
All right, we're going to break here. It's a Friday. That means it's Bennington. I want to thank Opie, of course, for the opportunity. And he's crazy about this hour that comes on after us, too. I'll talk about that a little later on in the show. But we'll be right back with more on Bennington. That is the this week's house band for Bennington. Our own Neil Young. Doing a great job for us. Great song as well, man.
Nothing's better than that song.
Love the Neil Young. Neil is one of those people that people who don't get it all are like, what's with his voice? That's not an American Idol voice. It's like there will be a chill moment that I'll have with people if I hear them say something about Dylan or Neil Young.
I had that moment with a coworker once years ago, and we were talking about guitars. Yeah. And he asked me, what kind of guitar? Well, I play acoustic guitar, and I don't own an electric guitar. And he's, ugh. I bet you like Neil Young, which is crazy to me because he shreds on electric guitar. But he's associated with some sort of a folksy.
Well, if you really think, that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, for some people, are the grandfathers of that whole California Canyon, which later became, Jackson Browne and Linda Ronstadt and the Eagles, and on and on and on. So some people have trouble with the singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Like, what? You can't dance to this, and their lyrics are so
dumb.
Confusing.
It made me so upset. Right. I said, you hold your tongue, sir.
Good.
You hold your tongue.
You should have called me, and I'd come over there and just start smacking him with a belt.
It was like,
remember that Tony Soprano when he took a belt off and just started smacking the guy? Like it's not even worth beating up, but just giving him a lashing.
For me, it was like that Columbine moment. Like, do you believe in God? Yes, I do listen to Neil Young. I do.
That was actually a little offensive. I think that was your first offensive moment when you're using Columbine.
Please don't tweet about this.
To set something up.
Please don't ban me from the show.
That's inappropriate. For me, it was more like a 9/11.
Please
Earl has put up a thing on the Interbank today about inappropriate racial costumes, but for some reason he also has a picture of himself as a sexy person in the woods, which I'm not understanding. A little bit lower underneath. Yeah, look at Earl.
Wait,
and he's like,
I gotta get
the sexy man in the woods.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a sexy ghost for Halloween.
He is. He's like a sexy ghost who also, you can see in him the exhaustion of having to put up with people doing racist Halloween costumes that he doesn't want to believe in.
I don't know how that's still going on.
The racist Halloween costumes?
So silly. Come on,
But
guys.
if you were going to play a black character, why is, it's like if you're going to play a guy with a beard, you would go get the fake beard that doesn't look good.
Sure.
And if you were going to play somebody who wore glasses, you wouldn't do it without glasses. So if you're going to play somebody of a different race, what's wrong with a little skin tone? Mm-hmm. Is it only because of the past?
Yeah, I think it's the past.
It really has to do with,
blackface.
Yeah.
So that people are very...
Was blackface even all that popular, though?
I don't know. I don't know if it was actually... how many people were just really into blackface.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this blackface? It's so cool.
But Jolson did it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When Jolson did blackface, it wasn't meant to be insulting. It was like when the Beatles would cover Motown songs.
Right, but he couldn't just not do blackface. He had to.
All right, why are people offended by blackface, but they're not offended as people dress up as women for Halloween?
I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I mean, I'm not like offended. I'm not deeply offended, but I think when people are saying people shouldn't, wear blackface or be Ray Rice or whatever, it's like I also have an opinion, and I can say. think that guy seems like an asshole, and I don't like him. I don't think he should be arrested. I don't think that, like...
Is it offensive if you're going to play an Asian to tape your eyes back?
A little bit. Not as offensive. For some reason, they are allowed to...
If I was to do anything, I would dress as Earl in this bit right here.
Oh, God.
As the man who's just seen it all. Been
that's
through
not
it all.
Earl.
Hey, we got to do a live read coming up. You've never done a live read radio, have you?
I've never done a live read. I don't know how it's going to go.
I think it's going to go strong. I think you're going to like it. We're going to do something for TrueCar.com. Unlike these other fake cars, which nobody wants, it's a true car. That's the beauty of it. It's a true car from TrueCar.com. It is Bennington, the show we do here on Fridays. I believe the next one we do will be in November. November 14. So that'll mean it'll probably be 2 weeks before I see you again.
Right. I'll see you then. See you
at the show.
This is great because we just get our visits all down.
That's great for you, but that's the thing is I don't like to be the guy on the other side of that. It's much better. But here, what's weird is I do a better job of calling my parents than you do.
I do.
You call your mother, but you don't call your father.
Speak to my mom multiple times a day.
See, this is the lucky thing. I call the house phone, and then my mom is like, let me get your dad for you. He's been wanting to talk to you about the ball game. But I called my dad the other night right after that incredible Game 7.
Was it good?
Oh, it was the most phenomenal thing I've ever seen in my life. It was the greatest thing known to men. That last Game 7 of the World Series was an entire reason to put up with life. It was that good. It was worth the pain and heartbreak of life. It really was.
I wish I could have seen it.
Why don't you just watch? I know why you didn't see it, because the Phillies weren't in it. And once the Phillies are out, you don't watch anything over at your house.
That's true.
All right, let's try this gimmick. Boy. We'll grab our TrueCar.com. And I got to tell you the truth, I haven't seen this before either. But let's read it like we're two people who are just having a conversation.
Okay.
So let's see if we can pull this off. And I guess what we'll do is anytime that there's a period, we'll just, switch and the other person will start talking.
Okay.
But let's set this up.
Or we could go word for word.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be very
Or
good.
read it together at the same time. Let's just try the first, up until experience, try to say it together to see if that works. Ready?
Okay.
Buying a car can be a stressful experience. That doesn't work for us. That's too Simon and Garfunkel. But, let's set the premise here that we're just two people in an outdoor cafe. We had just ordered some beverages.
Okay.
We're waiting for someone to come out with menus, and we just find ourselves in this conversation.
All right.
Buying a car can be a stressful experience, but TrueCar.com is changing car buying forever. TrueCar helps car buyers get rid of the fear that they might overpay.
In the first 6 months of this year, over 275,000 cars were sold by the True Car Certified Dealer Network.
Wait, how many?
275,000.
I had no idea. True Car users save an average of $3,221 off MRSP. Now, you know what that means, right?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. I don't know what the MRSP means.
MSRP.
MSRP.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know what it means.
What happens when you're ready to buy a car? What do you got to do? Is there any steps?
Yeah, you just follow these 3 easy steps.
Yeah.
First, you go to TrueCar.com and you find out what others paid for the car you're looking for.
That's it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
right.
No.
There's only one step.
No, there's not. There's more. Then register a True Car to see upfront pricing and information and lock in your savings.
And that's it? Just two steps?
No, there's just one more. But the third step is simple.
Yeah.
Just print out your True Car savings certificate and take it to the True Car certified dealer for better, hassle-free car buying experience.
That's what I want, hassle-free. All right, I'm trying to do it now, and it looks like I got in an old AOL chat room by mistake. What is this again? Is it AOL chat?
No, it's TrueCar.com.
All right, hold on. Somebody I'm talking to says that they have a parent over shoulder. All right, so instead of that, I'm going to TrueCar.com.
Yes, TrueCar.com. Every day, TrueCar users receive negotiation-free guaranteed savings. Some features not available in all states.
I wonder why that is.
Just wanted you to know that.
I'm gonna bet that one of the states is in the South where you can't get it. Well, it sounds like this is going to cost me a lot of time and money, and then I'll overpay.
No, you're going to save time, save money, and never overpay. Visit TrueCar.com today. That's TrueCar.com.
This sounds actually amazing. As we sit around and talk about it, I'm actually thinking...
I'm going to check this out.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely do it. I'm going to do this. All right, now, I'm going to find out exactly what that meant, and Larry is going to help me, because I've never heard this MSRP before. Have you?
I don't know what that means.
Larry in Kansas. Larry!
Good morning, Mr. Bennington.
I'm crying for you, Larry!
But you can't tell because I'm in the water.
Say, we just did a little Jimmy Schubert for you.
You didn't know I
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The MSRP is the manufacturer's suggested retail price. That is your window sticker number.
I don't want to pay that, though, do I?
Well, of course not. No, you want to come off that number.
Come way down. Apparently, I can that the TrueCar users save an average of $3,221 off the manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Well, I guess that's what the ad
How do they
alleges.
lose? They got to lose money at this then.
I don't know how they're going to make money at this.
I'm worried about the good folks at TrueCar.com going bankrupt.
They pass the savings on to us.
Yeah, I know what savings, though. Seems like we're just taking from them. It sounds like we've thrown a rock through the window and just running in and grabbing merchandise.
This is not going to be good for TrueCar. I hope it works out for them.
I know.
It seems like they know what they're doing, though.
You know what I think, how they're going to do it? Volume. Now, if you look at this, and if they lose, let's say, this over $3,000 every time they do it, and then they're selling 250,000 cars, 250,000 times $3,000, the losses have to be incredible.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good business model, but they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. We don't.
TrueCar.
Hashtag Bennington 866-766-0339. That's hashtag Bennington 866-766-0339. I'm Ron Bennington. This is Gail Bennington. I wanted to ask you about something, though, because we haven't talked about this. My Friday nights are locked in now with this Dave Grohl Foo Fighters documentary Into New album. Have you seen it yet?
I saw the first episode. It's really cool. It's a really cool concept.
You're going to love the second one better because the first one was Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
The second one is D.C. with the D.C. punk
that'll
scene.
be cool. Yeah.
Were you into the D.C. punk thing with the Bad Brains and
yeah, like
Fugazi
I wasn't there, but
it seems like the only people that really loved it were there.
Right. But sure, an appropriation.
By the way, they call that band Fugazi or Fugazi?
Fugazi.
Because I think when you say it's like the fake Stone, you say it's a Fugazi. And then when people say that band, they always say Fugazi. But when I was living down in D.C., every guy that I ever met down there...
Loves.
Did I ever tell you about the time that I was over at their practice in the garage? Every single person in D.C.
somehow were hanging.
Swears that, that they were hanging in the garage when they were putting together a certain album. And after a while, at first I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But after a while, I'm like, I know some of you dudes are lying. So this is what Dave Grohl's doing. By the way, tonight he's going to be in Nashville, which is going to be spectacular. But because he's going to have Dolly Parton on that one, and that's going to be cool.
That's going to be very cool.
But what he does, and really a lot of people don't talk about this, but it's 100% true, that if you grow up somewhere, your music is going to be a certain way based on the kind of music that was played in that town and just the town itself.
Right.
And there's like all kinds of things that goes into it. Something I got interested in a couple years ago, primarily from a comedy background, that guys who, let's say, come out of the St. Louis scene don't have the same thing as a guy who comes out of the Boston scene. And some of that are just based on certain scenesters who set it up in the first place.
Yeah, just who's turning you on.
Yeah. But also some of the times, like, that goes on forever, like CBGB's, right, in New York, which everybody loves. And they're like, man, can you imagine so many great bands coming out of the same little room, blah, blah, blah. But if you really think of what they did there, of setting the rule from the beginning of no cover songs. You're not doing cover songs here. Yeah. Now, you wouldn't think that a club owner would care whether you did cover songs or not. But that one rule alone, A, he'd put anybody up, and B, you ain't coming in here and doing cover songs.
No cover bands.
That changed a generation of music for people.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's wild to think about. Now, out of the entire... If you start to think of what scene that you would love to have been around, because I was talking with Graham Nash and Mick Fleetwood earlier this week, and I do this with these guys of that generation. I end up talking about London in the 60s and who was there. And I can never get enough of this conversation because I can't imagine the excitement level. Number one, Beatles, Stones, Kinks, all these guys, brilliant. All of them were like 18 to 21, 22 years old. All this music was happening at the same time, as well as film was being done. But for the guys in England, what was amazing is, like, they were the first generation that even had the opportunity to do this. You know, before that, living in England, it was almost like, their class system was almost a caste system. So no one, if you were born the son of a coal miner, it wasn't like, oh yeah, and if you want to, start playing piano and start a band. You just became a coal miner. Exactly. If your dad was a plumber, that's what you did. If he was an aristocrat, you were stuck with that,
Pretty much being at the dawn of any time, like where the music is just coming up and they're creating a sound. You could probably say that 60s, almost any town in the 60s, like any big town like New York or
all right, LA. let's play around with that a little bit, because here's what's interesting to me about this, and I don't think it could happen like this anymore. So you had London popping off what it was with all those great bands. New York, you're looking at first the folk scene with Dylan, and then later that weird Velvet Underground scene, which was great. Detroit is doing this Motown thing, but almost at the same time, there was like a big rock and roll scene. Like the first time people start to push rock and roll scenes. Matter of fact, the first time people start to kick out the jams. You know what I mean? Like literally that scene started at the same time with Iggy Pop and all those times. And it was the first time that people tried to make big rock. And you know what that was based on?
What's that?
They had a big room to play in.
Yeah.
So they got this one big theater. Yeah. And they went, holy shit, if you want to play this room, you got to be up against Ted Nugent. Yeah. And he plays really loud. Right. So our band has to get really loud and maybe project to the singer's got to get bigger and project to the back of the room. And suddenly the entire sound changes based on the venue.
That's wild to think, because I guess you don't think... I had never thought about the fact that if you have a city and you've got a lot of small venues, you're going to get a smaller sound, like maybe more like acoustic groups, and things are going to get a little quieter. Like you have an intimate space, you're going to get an intimate sound music. And I guess also it's so much of the music that's coming out has got to do with the venues that are available to you.
Yeah, the venue.
Just like in that Chicago episode, I hadn't... Because I don't really think of music that way. It was wild to think about how much the studio recording could influence. Like, oh man, there's this guy. We gotta get this guy, and everything he does is cool. So we've got to check out everything he's about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
So one dude that might not be famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or one producer who sets down a certain sound on his records that the other bands think, oh, that's how you make a record. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We got to pick it up a little bit, you know, and that's how you end up with the sound. But what's weird too is, like, even take punk music, right? Which everyone always talks about the energy, but does it ever play well in an arena? It's always better in a small venue.
Always.
Where metal, would you ever want to see a metal band in a very...
I have, and it's uncomfortable.
Yes, it's very loud.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's actually painful. You need some space to soak up that sound. But a punk rock show has got to be in a small room and everyone's really close.
But that thing of the 60s, look at like the difference of like what Memphis sounded like. Memphis soul as compared to the Motown soul. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Very different.
And then the Muscle Shoals was even different. I mean, they were similar, and you would dig them both. And then you had like the L.A. All these things were springing up at the same time.
Wanted to ask, like, what was going on in LA at that time? Would it be like the girl groups at that same period?
You basically were like the Flying Burrito Brothers and like Mamas and Papas and Beach Boys.
True.
There suddenly was that. But go up to San Francisco and it was like the Grateful Dead or Jefferson Airplane. Mm-hmm. It was like completely different. Mm-hmm. And like I remember when they were reading the stuff about Monterey. The Monterey Pop Festival was the first big outdoor show. They were like, why would we want the Doors here, you know? This guy's kind of weird and lame and theatrical. Like, you can't imagine.
Let's not invite them.
That somebody would say, I don't want the Doors here. They're so geeky and weird. But what happened that all that shit was changing at the same time? Sometimes, like I said, you could really take it back to a couple factors that, it became about non-professional recording. Like before that, only really professional musicians could afford to record. Like you would have to be in the business for years and years and years before somebody would invite you in. Where if you look at the Kinks, they were teenagers. Let alone, why did the Kinks think that they should write music? How did that come up,
Yeah,
at that young.
Yeah.
What gives you the balls to think you can write music, let alone music that good?
How about the kids in the Chicago episode? It's like 9-year-olds, like 10-year-olds, and they're just playing punk music.
That was the beauty about that.
It was so great.
Yeah. That was the beauty about that. That cool. Little kids would be like, yeah, we'll start our own thing here. Yeah. We'll make that happen.
And punk rock is very accessible to kids for that reason. It's like it's got the kind of energy that kids can play with. I feel like every kid goes through a punk phase for that reason.
Well, I know this. It's very weird that every kid goes through a Green Day phase, even still.
Yeah.
Like if a little kid starts to like rock and roll now, they'll still start at Green Day.
Yeah. It's so strange because I have little cousins who are listening to Green Day, their new albums. It's like I was their age and younger,
and loving Green Day
to Dookie.
And it's very weird that music has hung around.
Yeah.
Like you think of all the people that people would debate, like, oh, is this band or is it Green Day? And now no one debates that because all the rest of them have fallen into this mist of time.
I wonder if they feel weird about that. Like we're the Frozen of punk bands.
No, they seem like they dig it, and they don't age either.
No, they haven't. It's just slightly weirder looking versions of themselves, but not really older, just like slightly different.
They say that all bands grow up except for one. This is Green Day, the Peter Pan of bands. But I was thinking the last city to really have a scene that surprised everybody was Seattle. Because that was the last pre-internet scene that happened, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you need a little time and a little distance from outside influences. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you immediately started uploading it. And let's suppose then people in St. Louis would have been into maybe, Nirvana and shit early on. Instead of those bands were just playing for each other for a while. I think that's the key.
That you had to create a scene because
you got to have a scene that not a lot of people are into. It's not overly popular, but all the people who are there are like, oh, I heard what you guys did yesterday, and we're doing this today.
Yeah.
It's got to be like friendly competition, but it also does have to be somewhat of a competition. It just can't be, hey, we're all in this, because then it never gets better.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's the pros and cons to the internet. Is like suddenly you have access to all this music, not only currently, but young kids have access to older music, so they don't even have to listen to new music if they don't want to, because it's very easy to. The libraries of music are just
they're into everything that way.
But maybe it's hard to create something new and something special and something unique to a time and a place, and because
you get too much.
Right, it's too overwhelming. I feel that way now, where it's very hard for me to find out about new bands. There's too many options.
I actually just got an email about this based on a conversation that you and I were having about music, and a guy going, what about this band and this band and this band? I'm like, dude, you got to send them to me, because I don't, they're not being brought in the same fashion, and that throws you off. But I don't think there'll be ever another Seattle grunge thing. And I was working in radio at that time, where suddenly what rock radio was changed very, very quickly. Of everything that was there before, which was kind of like hair metal. Figure Guns N' Roses at the top, and then everybody who kind of sounded or looked like Guns N' Roses was out pretty quickly, and all these Seattle bands were getting massive airplay. I don't think anything like that will happen again, because you can't sneak up. Something can't sit and cook long enough for that to happen. Those bands played for years together, and that's where their sound kind of was born. Now people will end up screwing around with it too quickly.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like you were saying, I feel like unless somebody is giving me this to say, like, you have to listen to this, sit down, I'm going to send it to you. And maybe that's what radio used to be able to do, was like the friend who was turning you on to cool stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't.
The filtered excellence, to quote, that you would say there were gatekeepers. And I was actually just talking the last time that Bob Geldof was in here. He was saying back when he started doing music, you had to be playing a lot of cover songs. Then you had to say, okay, we're writing. And you had to say, we're the best band in our town. Before you would think to yourself, we'll cut a demo and send it to a record company. But now, 4 8th graders could get together and with a week cut something and upload it to the internet and put it out. So they haven't had that opportunity to really scrape it a little bit. So everybody thought, we'll get rid of the gatekeepers and that'll be a great thing. But I think we're still open of whether it is or not. Now that anybody with a phone can make a music video.
Right. Or, movie or anything. Everything is all art is maybe a little too accessible.
All art is too accessible. And I wonder, like, if you went back to, like, Da Vinci, like, later in life, him and Michelangelo were sitting around going like this. You know, these kids get their paint too early. I mean, in our day, what are you supposed to paint on? We didn't have any canvas. Now these kids, they just go out and get canvas. I didn't see blue until I was 34. That's how long I had to wait for blue. But it's true if you really think about it. Painting is not as precious as it was because you could start painting in first grade with paint. That would probably seem crazy to those guys.
Just like kids slopping around what they would have.
Yeah. I would just pour it.
Precious medium.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really now that everybody has a phone on them all the time and they're taking pictures, is photography better or worse now?
It's more accessible is what it is. I take pictures all the time. Some of them I think look great. But a photographer would probably look at my iPhone pictures and be like, this is what's wrong with everything right now.
But just think, it wasn't that long ago.
Filter on it.
You know, like a few decades ago, where there would be Life magazine, and it would just be pictures.
Yeah.
And it would just be photojournalism or, you know, stage shot, and people would just sit and stare at them. But you don't do that with pictures now.
But I do think that there's, like, a hunger for images, you know, like people are taking in a lot of images, certainly more than they are reading.
Are they spending any time with them, though? Do you sit and stare at a picture?
No, I don't think...
Yeah.
No, I don't think that they do. But they certainly want to look. I think that people want to see images more than.
But they want to see an image.
They want
see an image.
Yeah.
But if you look at like the Kent State picture, right, that person caught, where there's a body laying there and there's a girl screaming above it, that came out, and people saw that the same time that, you know, Crosby, Stills, and Nash put out Ohio, and it basically changed the world, where people looked at one picture and heard a song, and they said, this shit's stopping, man. Yeah. You know, like people that had voted for Nixon, middle-aged white dudes who were conservative, saw that picture and said, no. You know, this shit's stopping. Yeah. Do we get pictures like that anymore?
Yeah, well, that's on journalism then. I mean, it's also that a death of that type of journalism is gone.
But it's also because of the audience. You're not going to have something unless there's an audience for it, right?
Right.
So if people don't respect, let me tell you, if people said, I respect this type of journalism, you know, now we have 330 million people in this country, right? Let's say if 3 or 4 million people said, out of the 330, we would like to watch something that is just like 60 minutes all day long. We'd have a station like that. They would show up and somebody would put up money and promote that type of thing, and people would get better at it.
Well, it's kind of like when people talk about reality TV, like everybody likes to complain about like, oh God, Honey Boo Boo and all this kind of stuff. But clearly somebody's watching this stuff. And when I mean somebody, it's like most people are watching it.
They think they're watching ironically, but they're not.
But they're not. Or at least if you think your intentions are ironic, you're still consuming these images.
Right, you're doing the same thing.
You're taking it in.
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever watched a movie that you knew it was going to be bad, and you're just laugh at it, and then halfway through you're like, but I am watching this movie right now. Like the joke is on me. Because now I've sat through this whole thing.
Are we bringing up Starship Troopers? Is that where this is going? Is this
that's a great film. That's a great film.
I feel the same way.
That is not a guilty pleasure to me. It's just a pleasure.
It's a bug planet. Bugs whacked us, Johnny.
Goddamn bugs whacked us, Johnny.
It's home.
Where was it? Buenos Aires?
Yeah, BA. BA is where all the shit went down.
Man, that movie's good.
Well, we got a break again already? All right, we're going to break here, but I want to come back because we got away from this. I want to tell people tonight it's on HBO. This is the best. I'm now 2 hours into this. Either one of these documentaries would have been great on their own, but the fact that, and by the way, it ends with the new Foo Fighters song,
so cool.
which is written and recorded in that town, reflecting their version. One is going to be Chicago, one is going to be D.C., and it's great. And I'll pick it up again when we get right back. Cool. 866-766-0339. You're listening to Bennington. It's Bennington. Back to us. You just got mad when you saw me yelling at the producers?
I like when everyone's nice to each other.
Well, I would like to be nice to each other, but I need a little time check-in. That's all. So that's what I'm going to do when you're around, is be nicer. And say, y'all, how much time is left? What is wrong with you? See, I feel like the person on the air should get time checks. Just let me know. This is Bennington. 866-766-0339. Coming up right after us, Accelerated. So there's a hard out on this show, right? Okay. That's another one of the things I like to know. But see, here's the thing, Gail, and I know you don't like when I raise my voice. But how could somebody not tell me there's a hard out on the show?
It's scary, though, when you raise your voice.
Why would you think that it's scary?
Loud.
I'm not going to hit anybody. I just want to know what time it all goes down. That's it. I know I'm already like in a little bit more of a cranky mood today from some outside stuff that's happening. But the Earl piece is up on the iBank today. And then also, if you'd like to do it, come see Pete Holmes with us. It's part of the New York Comedy Festival. Now, by the way, I'm pointing this out. That's not on this thing. That's something we're supposed to promote every time, the New York Comedy Festival, because they, of course, went and put that all together for us. But that's next Friday. Go to theinterrobang.com, theinterrobang.com for that as well. Coming up in a couple moments, we might have a guest come in from the state originally, and now from a TV show called Marry Me, Ken Marino. Are you a fan of the Ken Marino?
I'm very excited. It's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's great. And I know that you were terribly into the state stuff,
I was,
right?
yeah.
What was their first big movie that everybody loved? That was the Wet Hot American Summer.
Which his character is hilarious.
Yeah, let me get I don't have pens like I have on my other shows, but and I'm not going to say anything bad about that.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
But I didn't know that he was also on Dawson's Creek. But he's had a very cool career. All those guys, though, have.
Yeah.
He did Eastbound and Down, which was a really funny thing. He was
hilarious.
Yeah. Children's Hospital is great. Burning Love is great. All those guys are terrific from the state, right?
They're so good. It's like...
Really somebody just wrote to me and we were asking about phones, and they write Bennington, which seems odd to just put something. I don't know why we went with Bennington instead of Benningtons. It's kind of a Van Halen type thing that we gave ourselves. But Bennington, he says, do you hate this? And I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm not familiar with this thing that goes down. When you try to show somebody a picture on your phone and they take the phone to look at it. So,
you just created anxiety in me just
do you really?
Right now. Yes.
Do you have a lot of pictures on your phone?
Yeah, I have tons of pictures.
Show me a picture on your phone. And by the way, does anybody else know about this new thing? And maybe we can name it. 866-766-0339. That's 866-766-0339 to talk with Bennington. But do you hate if you go to show somebody a picture on your phone? I believe that came from TR, who sent it to me. All right, now you want to show me that, right?
Yes.
I can't really see it.
Oh, God, he's taking it?
If I had to take it, and then I would want to make it larger.
Please give it back.
What other pictures you have on here? And then I started to tap my way through.
Well, I didn't want to show you everything.
So that's why people, that's the thing that people hate.
They'll start swiping. I know people who will swipe. Oh, any more of this? No, those are other pictures that I wasn't going to give you. It brings out such anxiety in me that I don't even know what it comes from. There's nothing on here that I'm terrified of anyone seeing. I don't have my celebrity nudes on here.
You don't have your fappening pictures. So you hate it if someone, but I will honestly tell you, when you put it like that,
you couldn't see it.
I can't see it from 4 feet away. I would have to say, "Here, let me look at that myself."
I treat people like a little kid, like they go for it. I'm like, "Nope, I'll hold it for you."
Yeah,
I'll hold it. No.
Like when your cousin was going to give you a drink of juice, and you said, "Give me some of that," and he tried to hold the glass. All right, Sean, think he knows about this. Sean, go ahead. You're on Bennington.
Hey, Bennington. I call them a swapper. Because they look at it and then they start swapping left and right. Like, dude, I just wanted you to look at the one picture, Don't be nosy and shit.
So swipers is the perfect thing because you're swiping the pictures as well as swiping the phone.
Yes.
You may have the perfect name for this.
It's kind of like when you invite someone over and people are always freaked out about them looking in your medicine cabinet. Like,
by the way, that would never dawn on me to do in someone's home.
I could never imagine.
I don't give a shit, though. I'm not that curious about what they do. I don't care whether or not that they have ADD medicine. I don't give a shit. Eat your pills, pillhead.
It's a really weird thing to do to someone else. Like, look at this. They must have a rash.
I think it's really weird when people go look on other Facebooks. You know what I mean? Of someone that they're not close to.
It's an epidemic, though. I mean, I feel like it's something that I had to stop myself from doing. Like, you look up old people, and then you're like, all right, I'm being weird. If I'm not gonna reach out to this person and say, hey, remember me? I haven't seen you in years. But instead, I'm just gonna be like, and that's her fiance.
Oh, I see. You guys got a new couch.
Looks like she lost a little weight.
Really? People still drink Kool-Aid. That's odd. That's odd.
And then I had to say, I don't want to be one of those people.
Wes, you're on the run of Fez. No, you're not.
No,
you're on Bennington. I said the wrong thing. I said that about my old child, Fez.
The only thing worse than that is when people want to show you a picture on their phone at all.
I don't want to see anyone's phone pictures either. Don't show me your phone pictures. If you want me to see them, send them to me, and then I'll look them on the privacy of my own phone or computer. Well, that is a cute sailor.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Look at that little sailor.
We should do a thing. We'll do a caption contest with Bertie one time. That Wes Anderson picture that you've done.
That's a good idea.
I was actually thinking about a caption picture to me. I was going to do it myself with that evil clown. But since my cousin's in it and we were both like little kids, I don't know whether he would want to see it. But it was just a picture that me and him were with an evil clown. I guess that was the day I was molested. I don't really remember.
It's a horrifying
I'm doing a great job of blocking it out.
I would never let my child near that thing. It's so scary. It looks
but you notice how we don't look scared, but we looked post-abused, you know what I mean? Like
you
we were disconnected.
Like
we were
a little
disconnected.
Like you've seen too much for your young years.
Yeah. Well, we definitely had. You could see the burnout. Mm-hmm. We were about 3 or 4, and the burnout in our eyes was just amazing.
Stripper eyes.
Yeah, we did. We had stripper eyes. Brad, you're on Bennington. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Ron. It's a pleasure and an honor to be talking to a broadcast genius on the phone.
Thank you.
So, my issue isn't when I give somebody the phone so that they swipe through pictures. It's that they're going to get into the messages and see all the shit that I've talked about them. That's what scares me.
Yeah.
Then why don't you delete?
I don't delete anything. Keep it all on there.
Then live in fear. I don't want to tell you. Live in fear.
Listen, it's an unreasonable fear. Like, I don't have anything specific that I don't... That in
but
my
it's
mind,
yours. It's like you don't want anybody to go in your wallet. You don't have anything in there that you're ashamed of, but you would feel uncomfortable if somebody was checking around your wallet.
I can tell you, I behaved the same way when the drug dogs would come around school. sniffing out. Doesn't matter if I didn't have anything. Suddenly I'm sweating, I'm nervous. I don't like to go through, like, baggage checks or nothing. I don't know what I have. I can't be certain. I cannot be certain. Yeah, and I felt that way as, like, a little kid. Like, I went to a school where they were, like, had the drug dogs come in, like, every week. And I was, like, 11, and I was like, oh God, if I have weed in my bag. Never smoked any, but it could be in there.
It's all going down. It's all going down.
I looked very suspicious to them, just shaking in the corner.
Here's Heidi in New Mexico. Welcome to Bennington.
Good morning, all. How are you?
Great.
Hi.
So, I was staying with my mother-in-law in Arizona and handed her my phone so that she could look at my little puppies.
Yeah.
And she's looking at them, oohing and ahhing, thinking how cute they are, which is exactly my intention. And then she just starts scrolling, and up popped her son, full frontal, completely erect, nude dick pic. And she literally passed out. I had to pick her up off the floor.
She fainted?
She passed out. Absolutely out cold. And I wish I would have passed out, actually. It would have been easier. But, so I had to pick her up off the floor, and we knew those could look at each other for about 3 days.
Now, why would she have a picture? Well, I mean, why was the picture of his erect penis? Do you forget what it looks like sometimes? Or you're at work and just say, I want to see my husband's erect penis?
Yep, absolutely.
I sure do.
Did she ever bring it up to him?
We have never spoken about it since. Yeah. And God knows I hope you never do.
Now, does he know? Did you go and tell him?
Oh, yeah, I had to. I couldn't wait to tell him. I just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to tell him. He wanted to die, and he's never brought it up since. It's like a subject where nobody will ever go. We all know, and nobody will say a word.
Yeah, it's something that you all need to take to your death, Heidi. Take it to your death.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, thanks so much. So there's one of the problems of looking through, someone's phone, something you don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought that the most interesting thing about those fappening pics was how uninteresting that they are. You know what I mean? Like how non-glamorous they could be.
They're selfies. Can't be too glamorous.
Yeah. Someone had brought this up about the ridiculousness of selfies, and they were. I'm just going to paraphrase here because I don't even remember where I heard it. But they're like, imagine like it's like 1981, and you're dating a girl, you're just getting to know her, and you go over to her house, and there's like 800 books that she has that are photography books, just stacked up. And as you start to look at them, it's all her holding the phone in front of herself, holding her camera in front of herself, taking a picture of you. And she's saved all these pictures. You would run out of there. Why isn't this considered insanity now? Back then,
that would have been.
You were like, this would have been a horror movie. Like Clint Eastwood would have found this room with these pictures, and everybody would have screamed. I mean, like, get out of that! And just as he's looking, and he can't believe it, you would just see this image of her rising above him.
It's like all work and no play.
Yes.
With photographs of yourself making the same duck face over and over.
Who invented the duck face? Anyway,
I think it's just to try to make it really just comes from trying to make your lips look fuller. So then I think that it's like my lips look fuller, which is associated with beauty, and then I'm also so silly. I'm silly.
I think it's really funny because I've seen pictures of like your little nieces that are like 9 or whatever throwing gang signs with duck faces.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
white girls with gang signs.
Why are they where did they get it from? They're not looking at people's Facebooks.
I don't know. Now it's just like a second nature. It's like we're learning it like a
osmosis almost.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. We're getting it on a cellular level. And how come Mishy doesn't know that that's gang signs that her kids are popping? Why does she think it's A-okay?
We're becoming one with the machines.
We've got if you want to be part of this Pete Holmes Unmasked, that is next week. Go over to the iBang, theibang.com. You get free tickets to see me do Unmasked with Pete Holmes. Is all part of the New York Comedy Festival, which is going to be a great week and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to have a lot of stuff on Raw Dog about it. By the way, join me in just a couple hours as I do the old-fashioned Ron and Fez show back on Raw Dog. And I'm going to have people that used to be Cutting Edge, a Chris Stanley, a Fez Watley, all hanging out with me just a couple hours. Now, coming up at 10 o'clock, Accelerate It right here on Opie Radio, where that's all the shows. It's just like the best of it because we realize now that you guys need little things brought at you really fast. You don't want to wait. You get everything from a week just snorted up your nose like crank. Ken Marino, Marry Me, airs Tuesdays, 9 o'clock, 8 p.m. Central on NBC. He's here. He's got a big hit show. Let's bring in Ken Marino. Is in with us with a big hit NBC TV show.
Is it? Oh, thanks.
A big, gigantic sitcom that everyone's staying home for and checking out.
People are watching Marry Me that follows The Voice on Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock Central.
You know, you've done so much like alternative stuff.
Alt stuff,
because you're alt comedy. Instead of just making us laugh, make us feel a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I get it, but is the joke on me, the viewer?
That's right.
But this is like a little alt and a little mainstream together.
It's a little bit of both. We combine them. We put it in a little shaker. We shake it up, and it comes out. Marry Me.
Marry Me. Which, by the way,
by the way, the alt stuff. It's not to make anybody feel bad about themselves for not getting. We're just trying to be funny.
But there was always. Don't you think that the whole thing of being alternative means everything that came before us? Little lame.
No,
I think it's I don't think
it's saying it's a little lame. I think it's building off of that. You need the things that came before it to then bend it and go in a different direction with it.
Who were the guys from the state that they looked up to when you guys would get together years ago? Who would you talk about?
Everybody had different influences. I mean, you know, Monty Python was a big influence on a lot of the guys and the young ones, and then you know, early SNL was big. You know, I mean, I liked a lot of like Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton,
really?
Like the silent movie guys, and Marx Brothers was a big influence, and the Muppets.
Really, for you, Muppets?
Muppets was big.
Yeah.
I like the Muppets, and I went back. You know, I watch it with my son now, like the old shows, and it's all just vaudeville. It's all vaudeville jokes, but with Muppets, and it's great.
I always think it's funny, anything that makes kids laugh. Do you remember the stuff that we used to watch together, Gail, when you were growing up, like, that we loved? I know we watched Jim Carrey. When I would have anything Jim Carrey on with the kids, and you guys would slide off the couch.
Well, physical comedy is hilarious to children.
Yeah.
They love it. Because it's transcends age.
That's why Harpo Marx was like
the best,
big with the kids.
Yeah,
you know, because he wasn't telling big wordy cerebral jokes. He was just kind of clowning around, and kids love it.
And yet, his brother was doing the same act, who was like maybe the fastest, wittiest guy in the world, verbally. And then you have Harpo, who was amazingly physically funny. I mean, you go back and watch that, and you've got two geniuses but who go with things, and they're brothers, and they go with things in completely different directions. Did you ever hear Harpo talk, though?
I never heard him talk, no.
There's some stuff where he has this old school New York accent. You cannot believe that accent that he has. It's amazing to hear him talk.
Well, there's a book, right? Harpo Speaks, right?
Harpo Speaks, yeah. And but was also great is he wore that wig, and he could just like take the wig off, walk out, and no one knew him.
Nobody knew who he was.
A gigantic movie star, but then he could go anywhere that he wanted without being bothered. Marry Me is Tuesdays, and I was talking about the uncomfortability. The opening scene for the first episode is the biggest hole anyone has put a person into, I think.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, to me, that's what made me want to do the show. It's a really funny, uncomfortable, awkward scene. It's about, I haven't proposed to my girlfriend yet, and she starts to have a meltdown and freaks out on me. She doesn't realize that I'm on one knee about to propose to her. But so during her meltdown, she starts to kind of insult all our friends and family.
Right.
And then at the end of the scene, she turns around, sees that I'm on my knee with a ring, and then I call everybody out everybody was hiding.
Yeah.
We were all going to celebrate, but she's insulted everybody in the room.
Well, it's always great, too, that you know that you have said something about your friends and family or in-laws in your life that you would never in a million years, even during an argument, a horrible fight, still would not bring up to them.
That's right. And she brings up all of those things.
All of them get said at the same time, and that's the start of this. Now, marrying, is it still? Do people still feel the same pressure, you think, to be married as they were years ago?
I don't know. I mean, I think so. I think it's a universal thing that doesn't go away. I think people I think when you're with somebody and you're with somebody for a certain amount of time, there's an expectation there where you're like, okay, so are we gonna,
do this
poo-poo or get off the pot?
Is this real?
You know what I mean?
Is this happening? Gail, for your generation, does it feel like marriage still on the table?
I think so, yeah, but I think it's a little more delayed. Obviously, we're getting married later. But I know when I was younger, it wasn't something that I thought
should happen.
Yeah, like I was not, I can't wait to get married. That was never me. And then as you get older, I think those kind of pressures of outside people, and you're like, we have been together a long time. We live together. Is this the next
Is this
step?
it?
This is what we're supposed to do. You know, I think that.
But, in my neighborhood growing up, by the time you're like 19 or 20,
you were married.
You had already been in a couple weddings, and your chick was like, so, what's going on? We're going to be last here? Yeah. You're like, I don't know. We're at the firehouse, I guess. You just would go along with it,
But there's a duality because it's like a lot of people are getting married later, but then you're coming from your parents, are married so young, and
me and your mother, it's always been our biggest regret that we gave into it. We're like, well, that doesn't even seem like us. Why would we have done that at the time?
Why not just
What was the alternative? What would you have done? If you could do it again, what would you have done?
I would think never act like, I need this to be legally taken care of. Like there's nothing else that I go and have the government stamp like that.
I guess I don't see it like that's not. For me, that's not why I got married. Like, I didn't think about it as, like, let's make it legal. To me, it was more about a celebration of, like, us. And, like, let's get everybody together and, like, there is people say, do you feel different after you get married? I certainly did. I was like, it just feels like we really kind of made a statement. It wasn't so much about getting a piece of paper where, like, now it's official with the government or the states or whatever. It's like, it was more about, like, we're saying, like, we are together. This is we want to celebrate us with you guys, and then after that day, it did feel different for me, and
it felt very different.
In a really positive way. There was like a kind of this question mark that was looming over the relationship, perhaps, not that I thought about it, but like it was gone. It was like, oh, yes, we're together. This is it. This is we're going to make this work.
If you think about it like a party, it's like, why not? Why not have a party to celebrate?
To celebrate and say, we're going to take a shot at this.
And there's so many shitty things that happen in life.
Yeah.
You're like, you might as well do the good things too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's terrible things that are going to happen in your life. So it's like, part of it's for your family. It's a big show that you put on, but it's also like,
I guess it is how big you make it. Is it being treated as a cool party, or have you gone in debt? You know what I mean? For thousands and thousands of dollars.
Scary.
But I think there's still a thing of tradition and newness have torn. A matter of fact, your film is really one of my favorite films ever, Diggers, is that thing of when tradition isn't even open to the next generation. You know, like there's been a tradition for a long time, but your generation is asked not to really join into it.
Right.
You know, so it's almost like kids being raised now, like, marriage used to be a big thing, but now you should wait and maybe live together for, like, people will actually say that to your kids.
Yeah, I feel like my parents' generation, you know, when they got married young, and they're together, and they just actually celebrated their 50th anniversary, and I just saw them last night, and it's great. But like back then, like you were saying, like everybody got married in like 20, 21, you know, that was just what you did. And I think that, you know, now we've realized you could take a little time before you jump into it, you know.
Which is an odd thing to say to the kids, you know what I mean? Like, it's an odd thing to say, don't, this person that you really are crazy about, and we're telling you we like to, don't commit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because this might be fake.
But I also can't imagine getting married to someone without living with them first. I can't imagine. That would be terrifying.
Right.
You don't know
That's
how
definitely changed. You know, because back then it was like you couldn't. You know, like it was like almost like, you know, frowned upon.
You shouldn't even be alone in the same room. Let alone,
when you marry them, then you can move in together. Then you could sleep. I mean, you know, TV shows like, you know, couples didn't even sleep in the same bed. Married couples didn't even sleep in the same bed.
Was it like Dick Van Dyke or something? They had separate beds.
And Lucy.
Yeah,
like,
Lucy. We were just looking over, like, good night.
Good night.
Which, in a lot of ways, you will actually sleep better when you have that room. But that's the funny thing about that thing of living together is almost a bigger commitment in a way than saying we're married. Because when you move in with someone and you can't stand each other, or you can't stand the way the other person lives.
Well, that's a litmus test, right? That's when you decide, okay, I can live with this person. Somebody said to me a while ago, like, pick your poison. Like, there's some people that that combination is not going to work, and it doesn't mean that they're a terrible person. It doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. It just means the combination of you two doesn't work. And then there's other people who are like, everybody has their flaws, and you can accept those flaws, and you can, like, you're okay with the, you know, crap that goes on when you live together, and you're like, you know, that's what it is, and I can live with that.
So they leave drawers and open. That's it. That's, that's the only bad thing. So bad. The only bad thing is the cupboard is constantly.
But how
open.
hard is it to close the drawer? You know what I mean? Just close the drawer.
Yeah.
I forget sometimes.
I'm a forgetter too. And
you have to close the drawer.
Yeah, I always hear stuff like, "Is there a reason these drawers are open?" Like,
I was just about to get something.
Yeah.
My wife's like, "Why can't, like, the socks, like, sort of get near the hamper? But why can't you just pick them up and put them in the hamper?" I'm like, "Well, they're near it."
Right.
She's like, pick them up and put them in it.
Shooting from a distance. I don't want to do a layup. It's a 3-pointer into the hamper. I remember of using stuff like that as a signal of whether I should do something. Like, okay, if I hit this from the outside and it goes in, I'll quit my job. That means I'm supposed to quit my job. That probably is almost my version of a prayer, a sign from God.
So the sign from God is if I get my underwear in the hamper.
Yeah.
If I get the 3-point shot of my underwear in the
Unless I really want to do it, and then I'll do 2 out of 3. I'll just keep going with it. Over and over. Ken Marino was in with us. Marry Me airs Tuesdays at 9 p.m. In the East. Go to NBC.com for more information. But we're so used to you doing stuff on the other channels, and it's one thing to see you in the mainstream comedy after all this time. Is it a whole different feel for you, or
not really? I mean, I moved out to L.A. in 98 or something like that, and I did some NBC shows, and I did a number of shows where I was on them, and they went for a little bit and then got canceled, and they didn't really kind of make a splash, and then I was doing a lot of guest spots on shows and arcs and recurring things, but the last 5 to 7 years I've been doing some more, I guess you would call it alt stuff, or just stuff like Children's Hospital and Burning Love. And I realized that I needed to kind of either create stuff that I liked, content that I liked, and just find a place for it, because it was just hard to kind of just try to keep jumping through the hoops and getting, a job just as an actor on network stuff. And then in doing that, I created like a body of work that people seem to respond to, and I think that helped me get this job and some other jobs on.
It seems like since you went out, you've always been working, though, right? Or
I've been very lucky in that I have been working. I've been paying my bills as an actor since I graduated college.
That's phenomenal, right? That's got to be a 1% type thing to be able to pull off.
I would think so. I mean, I consider myself very lucky.
Yeah. And it's really funny, too, is that you can play. There's some people that, let's say, comedically, they've got that lick down and they can bring that to any situation. But I've seen you play the nice guy, the creep, the confused guy. I mean, you've got, you play a couple of different comedy chords, and not everybody can pull that off.
Thanks. I try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, thank you.
But even all at the same time, because you got Children's Hospital and Burning Love, running in different directions, but then you did the Eastbound and Down at the same exact time. And I'm just like, and they're all different guys. They're guys that wouldn't even brush up against each other.
I mean, thank you. I feel like there's a maybe a little overlap. I got into I started playing a bunch of different types of, I don't know if I can curse on this show.
Yes, you can.
Assholes, like just dicks. And so, like, I was, so that, I did a string of that, like in some movies that I was doing, and then, Eastbound and Down. But, like, so I tried to do variation.
Very different kind of assholes.
Different types of assholes, but...
Yeah, because you'll kind of be doing, like, the lovable, clueless asshole.
Right.
Yeah. And then the next guy, you're like, he's a real asshole.
Yeah.
That dude is unlikable.
Yeah.
But I always think it's the great thing is when you can figure out as a performer, hey, what is that unlikable thing that I know how to get to? That you have to probably have some variation of that. Like, Jeffrey Tambor must have something in him.
It must be have a little dick in him,
yeah,
right?
that he maybe even a lot, but that he knows. Hey, here's the thing about me that frustrates people.
Yeah,
and I can call on that.
Yeah, I certainly tap into the asshole in me. I know how to annoy people if I want to, and so. All I have to do is lean into that.
Right. Because, like, in Wanderlust, you gave us nothing to seem like, he's...
No, I'm a terrible person. Yeah. An awful human being. I mean, but there's a freedom to that, because you don't have to, like... The fact that you don't have to make somebody like you, your only job is to make somebody despise you, and to make the main character, like, you're actually serving the story, and you're trying to make the audience feel for the main character. So the bigger the asshole you are, the better it is for the movie.
Here's the beauty of that character that you played there, because there's nothing worse than the asshole who has more money than everyone else in his world. So it gives him that, like, he just feels like, hey, I'm successful. I know more than you.
I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And it's so annoying. I know a guy who made like $1 billion off of an idea. And before that, he didn't. He was like a regular guy, but he had this one idea. And then after that, he assumed that he knew everything about everything that there was, that he could just give you the thing. And you wanted to say, that's the stupidest thing I heard, but you were on his plane. You know what I mean? We're sitting on his plane. Right. And I'm like, how can I convince him that what he's telling me about the president is ridiculous? Because we were in on his plane.
That's right. Yeah. He's like, respect my opinion.
Yeah.
You're on my plane.
Yeah. You're on my plane, and there's no comeback, you know? Well, maybe you're smarter than me. I don't know. Where's your plane? I don't have one. I don't have a plane right now. The chemistry that you and Casey have on this show, a show like that, of course, it matters for everything because you could run for years. Did you guys know each other before you did?
We run in the same circle of comedians and actors and stuff like that. She did a little thing on Burning Love. She was actually just a voice of a therapist when June and I were doing the second season of it. And then I actually went on Happy Endings one time and went on a date with her for an episode. And so we knew each other, we enjoyed each other, and so when we got a chance to do this, it was easy to slip into.
But it's always, isn't it kind of interesting, because in a way that's almost like a marriage. You guys are going to be together for most of the day.
A lot of hours.
Yeah, a lot of hours of the day. You're dependent on each other, and if somebody doesn't give much, you're now stuck in a bad
what's nice
marriage.
about it is we're supposed to be engaged. We're supposed to be a couple that have been together, and so yeah, it does feel like a marriage, but you just use that. There are days when we're both on it. There are days when I might be kind of preoccupied with something, and she's like, "Come on, let's do this.
Let's do this."
There is a couple vibe, But the creator of the show is married to Casey. He created the show, and so that's also an interesting dynamic. That I'm playing basically a version of him, in a way, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, and then of course he's writing things that is sometimes showing the worst part of her. You know what I mean? The needier parts of her.
Or he'll write something where we have to kiss, and then he'll jokingly from the next room looking at the monitor, he's like, "Okay, enough," and I'm like, "You wrote this shit. You wrote it. What do you want me to do?"
Yeah. That's the best, though, that someone I've got another scene for you. I don't want to say this, but Apatow has all of his friends with his wife at one point or another.
That's kind of weird when you think about it.
The show is Marry Me, and Ken Marino stopping with us. Marry Me is every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock in the East, 8 o'clock Central. Good to see you again.
Oh, what a pleasure.
Buddy.
It's nice to see you as well.
I appreciate it. And that's it for us. We'll see you back in here very, very soon. I'm on again in a couple hours on the Ron and Fez show, but this has been Bennington. Thank you.
Thanks.
There's some clue of when this all happens. But I love the fact, because that's the way you think when you're a kid. There is so much joy because there's candy and dress up, but then is any of this real? And then, of course, you see that Frankie, even at his advanced age and large size, still has the fear of teenagers.
He doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to know.
Teenagers, when you said that when I was a little kid in my neighborhood, when I was growing up, I'm going to date myself here, people were still allowed to hit each other without it making the news. You know what I mean? People could just come up and hit you, and that was, what happens sometimes. But screaming out, if you saw, you and your friends were walking, you were down in the woods, and you saw some older kids, one of your friends would yell, "Teenagers," in the same way that I'm sure in the past people yelled Cossacks or Huns. You know what I mean? It was just frightening to see the teenagers had shown up because they were so sadistic and so awful.
They were terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So intimidating. Even I remember the feeling of being with an adult and then being at the mall or at the movies and just being I just want to hide so bad from these, and they're not even going to do anything to you, but in your mind you're just they were just so intimidating, and I didn't want them to know I had parents for some reason.
Sure, because
they were there without parents,
yeah,
and I didn't want them to think
Yes, being seen with parents was like the most humiliating thing that can happen to a kid in public.
You're 8 years old and you just want people to think you live alone.
Exactly. Oh, now they're going to think I'm a kid instead of what I am, a kind of a groovy type person, making things happen.
Yeah, I got my own place.
But this is the funny thing about teenagers, is they're hated by everybody that's younger than them, and then they're hated by people that are older than them, And that's why we can't understand these women's school teachers that sleep with them.
Yes.
It just seems like the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't against the law, it's still,
Anybody when you were young who was like older and seemed really cool and you're like, yeah, this older guy, it's really into me right now. If you think about who that person was.
Right.
No adult woman would want to date that person.
No, why would she want to be with some buck teeth and elbows, stupid moron talking about video games and shit like that? It'd be like, just saying to yourself, I want to drink slobber. That's where I would put it, because they just seem like they're just dripping with spit at that age. Just not knowing what to do.
Also, all these school teachers always appear to be attractive women.
Blondes.
Yeah, attractive.
They're weird blondes.
But they've got to be the worst. Because if you're attracted to somebody that age, like even 16-year-old girls don't want to sleep with 16-year-old
No, they want to get out. Yeah, they want to be with older people. But see, that's the thing. Is I think a lot of these school teachers, it's that gimmick of never getting out of school. You know what I mean? So they think to themselves, I'm going to do it right this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go back and have a little poise about myself. I have a car now,
Yeah, there were always those teachers in high school who were just like trying to hang.
Yeah, they're creeps.
And they were always creepy.
Now, we never get the pictures of who these lady school teachers are with, but I'm willing to bet, like if we were gambling on molesting children, I would push all my chips in that they're black kids.
Really?
That's my feeling. And I just want, every time I see this on the news, it's our house band, Neil Young. It is Bennington. Bennington, episode 2. Episode 2, for those of you collecting at home. 866. I got to get a different number on there, or come up with a number so I'm not saying the name of the other show. 2 weeks ago, we did the first episode of Bennington, and I didn't see my co-host in the last 2 weeks. But with me, as always, Gail Bennington, no relation.
Still?
What are you up to this morning?
You've got to get that test.
Well, I don't want to get a DNA test. It's too odd. It's Halloween today.
Spooky.
Yeah, it is very spooky. And the spookiest part of it, it's morning.
It's really early.
It's incredibly early this morning, but this is what normal people do. This is the times that normal people will get up.
People are out there.
Not as many as you would expect, though. Night people always think that there are people that's like wandering around, and this is called drive time, but I don't see a lot of people driving. I get in faster this time of the morning than I do at any other time.
I had a very relaxing train ride. It's
not a lot of people?
It's not a ton of people. Everyone has a seat. Everyone's very civil. Everyone has their coffee.
And then an hour from now...
It's insanity.
Yeah. It's Dave's insanity sauce, basically, is what you're looking at.
Full-blown panic attack, pulling your coat off, waiting for the train.
It's the worst, isn't it?
It's the worst time to be on the train.
This is the thing. I understand farmers getting up early in the morning, but everyone else is an asshole who does. Because there's no way, like, we could have easily had a civilization that said, wake up on your own, and then come into work then. Open your store then. But it only takes one moron who owns a gas station to get up before everyone else. And then everyone's got to go, yeah, we better open up our gas station too.
Exactly. That's very true.
If I was elected Obama, and there's a pretty good chances I will run this time, because I know I can beat Hillary Clinton. I'm 99% sure.
You're definitely going to be.
Yeah. And And then the Republicans look like they're going to run that Alabama football coach. No, I'm not sure who they're running yet. It seems like Clinton's already locked in for the Dems, right?
I think that is pretty obvious.
It's a done deal. And then after that, probably the Alabama football coach. But I think I could beat them both, and I would run on the elect Bennington, sleep as late as you want to. It's up to you.
That's going to pull a lot of people in.
I'd also say this. Anyone who gets up early will be arrested and thrown into camps. I don't know whether I should use the term camps, though. That could come across a little...
bad.
I mean, I just like to point out that there are some camps that did not have anything to do with Jews.
There's
that'll also be on the poster. Yeah, sure, there's summer camps.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Those
nice.
are fun.
Yeah. That would be great to have a summer camp, but make it more like, old school, like it was an encampment.
Yeah.
6 weeks intense.
So you can get the real experience.
Yeah, get that experience. And, everybody loves to, everybody loves to LARP.
The kids really have fun with it.
That's another thing I would do. I would turn Halloween into, I just call it LARPing Day. Just LARPing Day.
That's what it is, really.
You dress up at all for Halloween?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
How come?
I don't know. It's something that it's kind of against my character in a lot of ways.
No, it isn't. You're a dresser-upper. It doesn't look like there'll ever be a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young reunion. And the big reason is David Crosby said something about Neil's new chick.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Daryl Hannah from Splash.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a weird one.
David Crosby said this, at least I don't date mermaids. Which
good one.
Was out of control.
Got him.
And uncalled for. Let's give all the kids out there a Halloween. It's kind of a warning. Have fun, but you want to be careful at all times. I want to do that from the one and only Frankie McDonald. Frankie McDonald is telling people to enjoy the holidays, but be careful out there.
This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Here is my advice for the Halloween night for 2014 on Friday, October the 31st, 2014. When you go trick-or-treating, you'll be very careful and extra careful. And kids will be getting lots of treats, and they'll be dressing up costumes such as vampires, Draculas, Frankensteins, pumpkins, ghosts, and other scary costumes as well. Okay. And kids and people will be also dressing up as video game characters, cartoon characters, vampires, Draculas, Frankensteins, and ghosts, and pumpkins, and goblins, and all other scary costumes on Friday, October the 31st, 2014. When you go trick-or-treating, you need to be extra careful. There could be some bad kids doing bad things you don't want to know, because this Halloween night can be very dangerous. When you go for a walk, be very extra careful when you go for a walk on Halloween night, since it could be a lot of bad things going on, so you don't want to know. And kids will be going trick-or-treating and getting lots of treats on a Halloween night. And kids and other people be dressing up as vampires, Draculas, Frankensteins, ghosts, goblins, and zombies, and all the other things. And the kids will also be dressing up as video game characters, cartoon characters, and other Halloween costumes as well. Just remember, on Friday, October the 31st, 2014, Halloween night, be very extra careful when you go trick-or-treating, everyone. Since there could be a lot of bad things on Halloween night, so you'll be very careful. I don't want to know about bad things at all. Make sure everyone to be very careful on Halloween night. Just remember, Friday, October the 31st, 2014 is a Halloween night. Best luck to you. Be very careful when you go trick-or-treating. Take care, stay safe. Be safe on Halloween night.
All right, good news there from Frankie McDonald, and best of luck to you. Best of luck to you.
What day is it?
He didn't mention what day it was. Maybe we'll play it again later in the show, just to see if maybe there's a dresser up.
I always dress up though.
Yeah.
I'm a very performative dresser.
But when I was a little kid, I would constantly be dressed as something, you know. Sailor, a cowboy,
sure,
a fireman, but just like to go outside and play.
Right, yeah.
But Halloween, you know, amateur day.
Well, it's weird too because when I was a kid, I don't remember seeing adults in costume.
No.
At all. And now it seems like an adult holiday.
They've taken it over from the children.
They have taken it.
Well, here's the things that they've taken from children, adults. They've taken away dress-up time, and they've taken away comic book movies and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's no... I mean, when people are like, I love Star Wars so much, but like... Think back to when you saw Star Wars, your dad wasn't standing in line with his buddies.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? That's fucking crazy.
It's really weird. But it's an adult holiday now. I'm also told by my friends who are from the West Coast that they came to the East Coast and were shocked how big Halloween was here.
Well, it's the same when we lived in Florida, Halloween wasn't big.
Yeah. So, well, maybe it is more like a Northeast thing.
Yeah. Well, because this is the only place that has the kind of changes of the weather in the ways that the songs go and the specials go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, people all throughout the South and on the West Coast are singing White Christmas when they've never had one and there's never any chance of one. And then Halloween is all about leaves changing and all that.
I was very jealous of that growing up in Florida when I was little.
Yeah.
Was, you know, I just wanted to experience a season so badly. Just anything to put me in the mood. Like, I was fascinated by fall, fascinated by snow. Just like a different planet to me.
Well, the thing is, in Florida, you get the seasons of other people have left.
Right.
That's the big thing there. You know? And then old people show up, and you're like, oh, must be winter.
It's winter where you come from.
Yeah.
But I think holidays in general are bigger in the North. All of them.
Yeah.
Like, not just Halloween, not just Christmas. I think, like...
Valentine's Day rocks it big in the Northeast. Columbus Day, which the rest of the country ignores, you know?
Which they probably should.
Why?
Well, he wasn't a great guy, was he?
What did he do? What did Columbus do that was so bad?
Oh, I thought, what did he accomplish? No.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was a rapist and a pillager. Or he at least encouraged... I don't want to say he did the personal raping, but he definitely thought it was fine to do. And then, you know, he was quoted as saying, like, you know what? These people would make really great slaves. They're really strong. They're dumb. Like, he wrote a... I can't remember who he was writing. I think he was writing home.
Imagine...
I found great slaves here.
Yeah. Imagine, like, we went to another planet, and then we just kind of considered those people to be stupid. It would be hard to think of that, you know, because, they went wandering around the New World and went, really, not a single wheel anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seemed very... barbaric to them.
Yeah, they were backwards.
They were a little backward.
They were little backwards people.
Backward.
Don't let it bring you down.
That was a good start.
Yeah.
Good song.
The Neil Young. You know, I talked to Graham Nash earlier this week, and Graham said, I just mention whether it's a black kid or not, because I think it is.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's usually like multiple kids, right?
Yeah.
There's always like 2 or 3.
It's only 2 or 3, or someone's watching, or then they, have a cell phone pictures and videos. Mike in Jersey is rocking us this morning. Welcome to Bennington. How you doing, dude?
Hey, Ronnie, Gail, great to hear you guys. Love the new show.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my chick the other night, and we were talking about a Halloween and mischief night and everything, and apparently, now I don't know if this is true, New Jersey is the only state with a mischief night.
We had mischief night outside of Philadelphia, where I grew up, and in some ways it was much more exciting than, because when you're a little kid, you would hear the thing of "Don't go out, it's mischief night," and then you had a couple years of doing mischief night, and then your dad would be like, after that, "Hey, keep an eye on the house, it's mischief night." I'm like, what? Really? Now I'm a guard? Like that's it? I'm walking the perimeter for us. So you went out. Now, some people in other parts of the country, I know it's known as Hell Night, some places.
Yeah.
Some stupid people call it Gate Night.
Gate?
Yeah, Gate Night. What did you guys used to do in your neighborhood, Mike?
In my town, it's a nice, small, quiet town. Mainly just you made mischief. Toilet paper.
Yeah.
Toilet paper in the trees, shaving cream on the cars.
Right.
like silly stuff. Just
nice, fun suburban stuff. Some soap on the windows. There was always
soap. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Now in Detroit, where it would be Hell Night, what they used to do was light the city on fire. Just their idea would go a little
too far.
Yeah, they would go a little differently with it. But that would always be that there would be a couple of things that you and your buddies would go out, and one of the things we would do is put kids on each side of the road, right? And then a car would be driving along, and then you would yell, "Pull!" And everybody would yank backwards on this imaginary rope, right? And the car would be driving along and have to hit their brakes. And then they would be like, ah. But some dudes would just hop out of the car and start chasing kids. And then you would go from being the person who was doing some fun mischief to, oh my God, I'm running for my life. And I always used to have a trick there, because there would be a bunch of us, and I would try to kick one of my friends in the heels so they fell down. Because just like in the animal kingdom, once a lion gets an antelope, he's satisfied. He doesn't feel the need to get everybody, just one kid.
The weak ones go first.
Yeah, the weak ones go down, and they satisfy that circle of life, and everything's taken care of.
It seems like mischief night. Why not just do it on Halloween? Everyone's out preoccupied with other things. It seems like you could get away with more.
Yeah, but then you've got your candy. So the trick is, I've got to focus on candy now. It's candy time. Because, but the whole trick or treat was, if you don't give us a treat, we're going to screw with your house. That was the immediate thing. Right. So yeah, we would do stuff to the people who turned off their light and sat in the back room.
Their pumpkins were normally not there when they got up in the morning.
Yeah, that kind of stuff would happen all the time. See, my mom used to do a thing where she would make, this is also dating myself to show that this wouldn't happen now. She would make apple taffies, right? Mm-hmm. So you'd have the apple, and then she would, in this kind of really,